This is somewhat of an evergreen title, Charles. Every year on Joe Biden's birthday, we could have the 80-year-old moron, the 81-year-old moron, the 82. Although I don't know if he's going to live much longer. He seems brain dead already.
He puts the Ron in moron. I mean, the guy is, it's really disgraceful at this stage. I mean, it was bad in March, let's say, of 2021 when he started really stumbling in the way he was speaking, and worse when he destroyed America's remaining credibility, rushing out of Afghanistan and leaving slave markets behind where little girls are being sold into bondage to 50-year-old men.
Not even sniffed.
Yeah. You know, it's just that, and to have him on the one hand just say, give him a decision. He's very reliable. He'll always get it wrong. And then you have his, sidekick in a talk show. Your sidekick is supposed to be pretty quiet and even reticent.
What? Who said that? I don't understand for that.
No, but you know what I mean? Ed McMahon or Johnny Carson or whatever. You're not supposed to be dissing the boss, which is what...
Did Kamala do that?
Of course. I mean, she's... we had no idea that Delta was coming. Well, that's not what your boss said. And so the two of them, it's talking about buyer's remorse. I mean, that happened, I would argue, January 20th, 2021. I mean, now we're in take the shit back. I mean, these people are repulsive. They're dangerous. And you were talking earlier about this news out of, you pronounce it correctly, I slaughter it, begins with a K.
Kazakhstan?
Yeah, I would say Kazakhstan, because I always get that shit wrong. But anyway, you were right to point out that there's something definitely more to the story. And we have, I think, the picture of Joe Biden with the smartest man he knows, Hunter, in a picture with the head of the intelligence service, the former head of the intelligence service. And
yeah, see, that seemed obvious to me that they said that they arrested this guy for treason. Oh, well, look at what time it was published.
Yeah, well, and right before the election as well, right? That's just before the election. So here we have the second
unbelievable
corrupt foreign country connected to the Biden family. You have Ukraine in a long-standing historical tussle with Russia, and now this is the second country formerly in part of the Soviet Union.
They still launch all their space stuff from Cosmodrome, whatever, in Kazakhstan.
Right, and this idiot, this team of idiots, Jake Sullivan and Anthony Blinken. I mean, you see, I'm going on to Jack here, but you see Blinken talking during the Christmas, New Year's period. He had repeated tweets out by his staff to encourage the world to follow his Shopify.
What?
Yeah, his Shopify.
Oh my God! Is that so he gets money from Shopify?
I don't know. I
mean, they're sending him credit for shopping. He's like, here's my link to Shopify. Dude, you're the Secretary of State. You're not supposed to be.
But he ran as well. Didn't he run the Biden Institute?
Oh, right. He was the lawyer?
No, he was the head of it, I think.
Oh, my God.
And so this is a team. When you go and you say, look, I want to go, my particular interest right now, I mean, I've always liked tennis, but at this time of year, the Australian Open is used to be an important tournament. And if you said to me, Jason, I got a friend who's, close to Roger Federer, and if you'll take us to dinner, we can all have dinner with Roger Federer.
Sounds like a big deal.
I'd say, that's fucking awesome. Where do you want to go?
Taco Bell.
That's from McDonald's.
All restaurants are Taco Bell now, Charles.
That's right. It's all that's left. But, I'd go do that. And if I went and I met, one of the tells for whether a tennis player is likely to be good or bad is if whether they're right-handed or left-handed when they play, the arm, that is the arm they use to hold the racket, it better be a third larger than the other arm. I mean, 25 to a third. Because when you're playing tennis, as last time I tried to do this, semi-seriously, when I had time, was 15 years ago, and I actually employed a coach and did a lot of tennis playing and weight training and eating differently and all that kind of stuff. And this guy, who had been on the professional tour for quite a few years playing doubles and highly ranked around the world, he explained that each stroke that a serious tennis player hits is the equivalent of lifting one 5-pound weight.
You can see it in this photograph.
Yeah.
Look at the massive difference with this guy's arm.
Exactly.
It's a little bit crazy.
No, it's unbelievably different, and
He almost needs to be doing something with that other arm to fall over.
well, it really is something. And the other thing, that the little trick of the trade is the pro. There's no rule, unlike in baseball. There's no rule in tennis against putting weights on the racket. So the professional tennis players, they don't have normal rackets. They have lead weights.
This guy has 40 pounds on his racket.
Not 40 pounds.
I'm kidding. Look at the size of his arm.
If you had an ounce, I mean, think how light a tennis ball is.
Well, now you're talking about Hunter Biden.
No ounces left.
He's got an 8-ball.
No ounces left around him. But if you went, and said to me, I'll pay for dinner. Let's go and all meet Roger Federer, and in walks this 400-pound doofus, who's obviously not Roger Federer.
I mean, what are you talking about? That's
Jason's Bay. No, but I mean, the point is, that's what we got here. I mean, if aliens came down to Earth and said, "Take me to your leader," and you produce this doofus, the aliens go, "Nah. Look, show us your leader, or we're going to eat every single one of you. Your real leader. This guy can't be the leader."
Where's Putin?
God, the head of Grenada, the island of Grenada, has probably got more on the ball than this idiot.
Didn't they kill him recently or something? There was an assassination.
Grenada?
That was Haiti. They assassinated somebody.
Haiti, that's the way. That's how it rolls.
Wednesday.
It's just like, let's kill the leader.
Assassination. It's supposed to be the second Thursday.
But I think you've heard the news that last year Joe Biden couldn't deliver the State of the Union address because we all had COVID. Lockdown hysteria.
I thought it was because he couldn't read.
That's also that's the real reason. Note to self. But Nancy Pelosi has managed to, she's managed to sell enough stock to buy enough Botox to have her mouth move now.
Drink the Botox.
She's been doing that for 20 years. But anyway, so she sends a letter to this idiot, saying that you can have the State of the Union address on April Fool's Day. Actually March 1st. But and Biden was, I really wanted to do it on April 1st.
But so Nancy Pelosi announced.
Well, she's the speech is given in the House section of the Capitol building because it's big enough to encompass everybody, to hold everybody, whereas the Senate isn't. And so the Speaker does have that right to decide if the president will be given the opportunity. But I mean, I used to even try to listen to Jimmy Carter when he spoke back in the in the 70s. I don't know what I'd rather do on March 1st than listen to. I mean, I will watch channel 25, which in New York City I think is the public access channel that typically has the Dominican Day Parade on at prime time.
Al Goldstein
or whatever. I mean, I'll watch that with Spanish subtitles before I'll listen to this moron attempt to talk to me about the State of the Union. He has no clue about the State of the Union. The state of my 2 expensive carbon emission fountains in Delaware that somebody else bought for me with stolen money is good. And my car that I shouldn't have, that's the state of that thing's pretty good. And the state of my ability to hold, to make it in between pit stops at the toilet, that's not so good. We won't talk about that.
No. But you were talking about things you'd rather do. Remember in the movie Syriana, there's a brutal scene, you can't even find images of it on the internet, where they pull out Clooney's fingernails while they're interrogating. Yeah. We could arrange an appointment for that. It might be...
For Biden? Or for...
No. I mean, instead of watching Biden, this would be a relief.
Yeah. That's what watching Biden's going to be like.
Right. Pulling out the fingernail. It was actually a very good movie, Syriana.
Yeah. So it sounds very... Is that Matt Damon?
Yeah, I mean, the whole story is that they're somehow I think oil industry contractors who are there, and the whole royal family intrigue and terrorism and whatever. I don't remember the details, but I remember it being quite gripping.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Even though George Clooney is a douche.
And now a billionaire.
From selling tequila.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that works. You're a white douche.
I actually met a guy I sold when I was a banker, I sold National Distillers Liquor Company, which was, National Distillers was also a chemical company, but they had a big liquor business.
Did you sell it to Diageo?
I sold it to, I think it was called then American Brands, and I don't know who may have bought American Brands. But in the course of it, there was a guy who wanted to buy this business, and he was the creator of Sky Vodka.
Uh-huh.
And he had married into the Schenley, Schenley family, which are a big liquor distributor family. And he married this Schenley woman, and I forget the guy's name. We'll get if we Google it. Sky and Schenley and whatever. But as I met him, in addition to doing Sky, he had boosted the fortunes of not Maurice Conbar.
But it says he's the founder.
Well, no, he sold it. All right,
He's 92.
This is a different
And
guy.
he's from Brooklyn.
Maybe it's not Sky. Maybe it's a different vodka. Let's try. The name will come to me.
Absolute.
Google Schenley and Jägermeister.
You Google Jägermeister, you get a headache.
Sidney Frank. Grey Goose vodka.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so Sidney, this is in...
He died.
Yeah. I met him in 1986, 87 timeframe. And he wanted to buy this National Distillers. And I said, Sidney, look, you don't have enough money.
He said, Sidney, have a cream soda, make a sandwich, do something.
No,
I'm going to
don't
stab you in the heart with a pencil.
Louise Rosenstiel, was it?
Who was that?
Who was that? I thought it was a Schenley that he was married to. But anyway, he would try to impress me. And what he would do is he would send out these Christmas cards. That might have been one of them. He would send a Christmas card out every year of himself with the Rothschild family or himself. It was just so over the top. Like, it's not, this is ridiculous. Why are you sending me this?
But look, he's wearing a medal.
Oh, yeah, what
is he?
I don't know. But he got, in the process of boosting Jägermeister, he started harassing the Jägermeisterettes, which are these girls who were promoting it. And so he was married. So he was married to this wealthy woman. That was the source of his money.
Yeah, they were like naked, basically girls in bars who would make you do Jägermeister.
Right, and he's
shots.
harassing them. And look at this guy. He's harassing the Jägermeisterettes.
They're like 20.
And the wife is like, I don't think so. Unfortunately, she divorced or died or whatever. So he skated on that, and then he sells Grey Goose for $2 billion or something.
Wow.
But before he had sold it, he tried to buy this business. And when, cajoling me on the phone and meeting me in the office didn't work, he came with this idea, well, Charles Cook, I want to take you to lunch at the 21 Club.
With 21 Jägermeister girls.
No, just him. And he had he's one of those guys who just been to the 21 Club endlessly. So I show up at...
Douche of the Year medal, somebody says.
I show up at the 21 Club when it was still in existence. And they say, yes, sir, why are you here? I'm here to have lunch with Mr. Frank. And he goes, Mr. Frank, Mr. Frank. It's like everyone's jumping up and down looking for Mr. Come right this way, sir. And he goes up to the main room. I don't know if you've ever been in the main room. On the upstairs is the main dining room.
I haven't been in there.
And so I go in there, and he's got the prime table in the center of the room, nobody near him, and he's trying to impress me. That he's like, dude, you still don't have the money. You have less money now that you're paying for lunch.
Right. So I guess the sale didn't go through.
No, I not to him. I sold it to American Brands. I sold it for more money than anybody thought possible at the time. It was like $400.
That's fantastic. Here's the Jägermeister girls.
Yeah, some look better than others. But
well, it was basically they were just spokesmodels who would promote. This is a horrible product.
Brewmeisters. They were chemists and nuclear physicists, weren't they? Selected on the basis of their SAT scores.
They were just college girls in tank tops making you do Jägermeister shots.
Which is revolting stuff.
It's a dangerous job for them, actually, because they're dressed up.
Right.
They're sort of encouraged to flirt with people. You're getting incredibly drunk with this booze. They had to get harassed all the time.
Right. It'd be actually amusing to have the reverse type of bar. You go into it and the bar girls are ugly and they start harassing you. Drink.
Well, that's the whole purpose of Jägermeister, isn't it? It's like, it doesn't matter if they're ugly.
Exactly.
But we have more important things to discuss than Jägermeister today, Charles. Where would you like to begin?
Well, you've got the cue there and our production team. By the way, we've got to thank the art department. I always forget to do that, but
not always. Usually, you're quite complimentary, and thank you for that.
No, it's the amount of time that the art department labors over these posters is just.
No, usually it is a lot. This one was pretty easy. I have to admit.
It was a nanosecond.
No.
But it was fantastic.
Sometimes these ideas they just make themselves, Charles.
So Emerald Robinson is somebody who used to be, I think, at One America News, and from there she went somewhere else, and she got bounced out of somewhere else, and now she's substacking herself. And she interviewed me once or twice when she was at One America News on the Clinton Foundation, and she's very, very good. And this is a piece that I guess it appeared a number of days ago, and it's worth reading. We won't do it now, but it's worth people reading the whole thing. And the bottom line is that what's really going on here, like what happened, I think, with the Patriot Act and other things, is that, and maybe perhaps with the Clinton Foundation, actually, this is to your point, clue number one. She's reading The Book of Honor, The Secret Lives and Deaths of CIA Operatives. Had you gotten into that before?
Yes, she wrote a review for it on Amazon that's loaded with weird stuff. It's all steganographic messaging. And so it says here, the picture was, do you think that perhaps the picture was staged and that Ghislaine Maxwell was trying to send a signal to the American authorities? No, I think she was sending a message to somebody else. Yeah. Well, and I don't think we understand that message yet.
Well, so I think the family business, and when we go into not only Ghislaine Maxwell's father, but her uncle, who was, an assassin, basically.
I didn't know that. Who's her uncle?
Whatever. If you get Robert Maxwell's Wikipedia, and I think it talks about his brother was the spy, the kind of spy who shoots people, not a different.
The spy who shot me.
Yeah.
Does it say over here?
I don't know. It might say
Mount of Olives Jewish Cemetery in Jerusalem is where he supposedly is. Occupation, publisher. Oh.
You might put in Robert Maxwell, a brother, and check and see what happens. Z. Yeah, it's not close. Not Ian.
Ian Maxwell.
That's
father.
These are son, brother, her brother. What happened to
Betty Maxwell brothers? Well, we'll have to look into this. But the brother was an assassin.
Another brother moved to Philadelphia. I'm sorry, to Argentina.
Let's just see here. Murky life and death.
Anyway, it's very clear that we don't know the whole truth about Robert Maxwell, and this idea of people, and I know there's one other thing that we have to pull off that I forgot to give you. This idea that people will start with no money and become billionaires, highly leveraged billionaires, flamboyantly highly leveraged. I mean, Trump started with family money, but there's a series of people in and around this tale. Robert Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, and then you get into Ron Burkle, and you get into the guy down in the Irish guy.
Dennis O'Brien.
Dennis O'Brien. There's a whole large number of these people who get plucked from obscurity to become useful somehow, and they tend to be involved in international business, moving stuff around the world, traveling in a set where they can get close to very for people who could be compromised for the benefit and use of the deep state. So we think about a Robert Maxwell. Another guy like this, sad to say, is Tom Barrack. And I was trying to remember his name this morning. Tom Barrack. And if you
Barack?
Yeah, if you get his Wikipedia thing.
Why is it not Tom Barack?
There's a Wikipedia tip. Yeah, that one. But this guy, it just doesn't make any sense. He's He started out his parents were from Lebanon, and he moves to California. He must be relatively, he was smart, but somehow he quickly ended up in the Reagan administration, and then he ended up in these leveraged real estate transactions, and he bought Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch,
Wow,
and he
I never
bought
heard of this guy.
Harvey Weinstein. He was trying to, in the end, save Harvey Weinstein. You just read this thing and you say, this guy is like Zelig.
Wow.
He's in every. He helped out. He bought some debt that Jared Kushner, portion of the debt that Jared Kushner had incurred. Getting into bed with GE Capital is not a strong thing.
Yeah. But it is deep state.
Yeah, and so this guy.
What, he made a $24,000 loan to
Million.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Against her photography.
But what does she need $24 million for? Seems like a lot.
She's certainly a facelift, I would say. Probably. That's a bad picture. I mean, for a photographer to allow that kind of a picture to be taken of a photographer, it's like.
Oh, she's not a model.
That's for sure. Is that Phyllis Diller's daughter? But anyway, but you look. He's suddenly. I guess because he speaks Arabic. Suddenly he's doing deals with all these sovereign wealth funds. And then he gets close to Trump. You see here, he bought $70 million of Jared Kushner's debt on 6665 Fifth Avenue. And Kushner avoids personal bankruptcy or maybe bankruptcy on that property, which is a piece of shit, that property, actually. I've been in it many times. When Barrack agreed to reduce his obligations after a request by Trump. Now, that
just
alone,
giving out money.
That should be investigated.
Absolutely.
I mean, how does the President of the United States, or if he was the candidate, call up somebody who has an asset? Your son-in-law owes this guy $70 million, and the president says, "Could you please only collect 50?"
Yeah, it's just stealing
that's bullshit.
money.
You can't do that.
Wow.
Shouldn't do that, honestly. And I seldom do criticize Trump this strongly, but I mean, if this is true, and then you go through the list of other
let's
things.
check what the little citation is here. Who is behind Trump's links to Arab?
Well, it's in the New York Times, so it's very suspicious on page A1.
I never remember seeing this. He was caught in a bind.
Yeah.
What do you think?
But so that's why I say this business, I suppose, had life taken a different set of turns back when I was running the private investment firm that I was running, and I had gotten a chance to invest money from a sovereign wealth fund, I might be singing a different story, but I didn't, and I didn't try. And part of the reason was that the largest pools of capital in the world already see all the good ideas. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there with a good idea and you say, I think there's this guy who lives in a bunch of shopping carts filled with trash next to the cafeteria restaurant on 7th Avenue, and he sleeps outside.
I know that guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Maybe I'll take my idea to make $1 billion to him. Maybe he'll give me a commission. I mean, you don't go first there. You say, who are the richest people in the world, regularly trying to get investments or being paid fees to come up with good ideas? I think I'll go to that pile
And aren't
first.
there a certain VC funds that whoever is inventing whatever
Absolutely.
knows about them and just goes right there?
Those are called stick funds, typically. They used to be called stick funds. And after the Roman numerals that would go after, to get an institutional fund together, I did raise at least one institutional fund. That's very, very hard. And so the first one, you don't call it Hibernia Capital Partners 1, right? You just call it Hibernia Capital Partners or whatever it's called. And then the stick means that you've gotten a second one together. Now, raise one is hard. To raise it and then invest it well is harder. But then to go and do two is easier because you've got the track record and you whatever. And once you do two, unless you go crazy, which does happen, people change their lifestyles and they start having mistresses.
But you become a trusted person.
Right. And so what happens, it's just like anything else. You go from famine to feast. Like, how can I put this fund together? How can I invest the money? And suddenly you invest it. And now the sovereign wealth funds are saying, well, Jesus, you're fantastic.
You take all our money.
Yeah, please, we want you to take more money than you can invest. And you have to say, no, I won't do that.
And then they cut your head off.
Well, not so much. but they do. They're always angling. It's for them, though they have all this money, if they can't get into the stick fund, then they look stupid. And when they're swanning around, the Fairmont Hotel, wherever, and with their buddies at some,
They
sovereign
don't
wealth
want to
fund
have
retreat.
somebody else in it that they're not in.
They're not allowed in, and like you can't go to the investor meeting, and you missed out on a 25-1 home run and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very interesting world. So when you see this guy who comes from a modest background, not only leapfrog into the world of sovereign fund investing, but also start getting involved, doing so with Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds, and Middle Eastern sheiks have a belief, and I think it's a fairly reasoned belief that having good relations with the United States of America is a good thing, because our military, in theory, can either overthrow you or protect you, depending on
what day of the week it is.
How Lloyd Austin and Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden wake up, how they wake up feeling on a given day.
Does Lloyd Austin still have COVID?
He's got stupid. But anyway, so this Tom, you look at a Robert Maxwell, and you look at these figures like Tom Barrack, and then if we can Google Ron Perlman and New York Times. There you go. And here's another one. And I started reading this. This whoever wrote this, if you go down the page a little bit, I think gives his name. Jacob Bernstein. He's a good writer, a very gifted writer, but he doesn't seem to be very curious about charity fraud. And if you go to the very end of the piece, it's quite a lengthy piece.
Right. This is the guy who's more interested in.
I mean, there's a lot of tidbits. He obviously has interviewed Perlman.
What's going on here with Cy Twombly? This guy, is that the Twombly from the United States versus Twombly, where the whole
I don't know
plausibility of the facial thing comes from? Might be.
Well, it could be. But this is a guy who, 280-foot super yacht, 72-acre East Hampton place.
He owned Technicolor, right?
He owned Technicolor. He owned Revlon, owns Revlon, which is publicly traded. He owns a big percentage of it. This thing goes on and on and on, but it gets to the part where Ron Perlman was the one that the Clintons approached when they had a Monica Lewinsky needs to have a paying job away from Washington, D.C. It was Ron Perlman who gave her the job. And then there's a story about Ron Perlman getting involved back and forth with a charity, and allegations of fraud in a charity here in New York. And, we have news as well that, and this is, again, the jeans in a over 40-year-old guy. I mean, it's just like not a good look, in my opinion.
What about the sneakers?
What about the bracelet? Are those...
Oh, well, you know what I noticed? Actually, I saw a photo the other day of Andrew Cuomo, and he was wearing the same type of 14-year-old friendship bracelet, like what your 14-year-old girlfriend would give you in summer camp, which Bill Clinton was wearing when I saw him at the bookstore.
Really? Wow.
I found it weird that those kind of adults would be wearing a bracelet
strange.
like that.
But this, I don't know if this was in the magazine today.
It's long.
It's very long, but at the very end, you'll see that the guy describes himself. There you go. It says, he's a reporter for the Styles Desk.
It's weird.
He writes profiles of fashion designers, artists, and celebrities. He focuses his attention on LGBT, but not Q, issues, philanthropy, and the world of furniture design.
Why not Q and plus?
But philanthropy in the world of furniture design. I mean,
it's a very bizarre
it's a kind
collection.
of a strange mixture of interests. And I thought about reaching out to this idiot to say, why didn't you take a look more closely at charity fraud? And he's Emmy-nominated documentarian.
Oh my God! Now wait a minute. This is Breakfast at Tiffany's, isn't it? It looks like Audrey Hepburn, not him.
Yeah.
All right.
Suspicion. He's probably not all that photogenic, as a guess. He's only got 15,000 followers. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, is it even a real guy? Why is he using a fake picture?
He's got a blue check.
So what?
Let's do Jacob Bernstein, New York Times, and NYT, and Styles, and see what comes up. Maybe there'll be another picture of him.
Okay.
But here's the intersect. Leverage business people with global brands, leverage philanthropists, global brands.
Here he is.
I don't see. Okay. Time Style. There he is, Jacob Bernstein. Politico. What does it say? Where does it say? He got from Joe Pompeo. Joe and the Pompeo.
Began moonlighting.
He's son of the Washington Post legend Carl Bernstein.
Oh my God!
I wonder how he got the job.
I don't think we can trust this guy at all.
I wonder how he got into the print media. And Nora Ephron.
I didn't realize Carl Bernstein was married to Nora Ephron.
Yeah. All right. So now the picture becomes clear. Of course, he's not going to look into, the real.
Anything that doesn't have to do with style and furniture.
Furniture. Yeah.
Oh, it's been a 3,300 word profile.
Of Anthony Marx?
Who is that?
Karl Marx's grandson? I don't know. The embattled head of the New York Public Library.
It's a financial boom for Hollywood B-listers.
Well, a sensitive portrayal of the life and death of the AIDS activist Spencer Cox. I mean, this is the kind of guy who should care about the Clinton Foundation fraud, frankly. He's a graduate of Vassar College, no doubt. Because he couldn't get into Mount Holyoke. But anyway.
Now, wait a minute. Here's another article about him. He's taking ownership of stupid Melania remark.
What did he do?
New York Times reporter Jacob Bernstein takes ownership of stupid Melania remark.
As a hooker. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He said in the first of 4 tweets, son of the legendary Watergate reporter, Carl Bernstein.
That's it.
Watergate.
I'll get right on this scandal. You can count on me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't trust Carl Bernstein. I don't trust Jacob Bernstein.
Yeah, Carl Bernstein is like, is somebody who was a superstar, obviously, with Woodward breaking the scandal in 1972 timeframe. But since then, he's just gotten, more and more stupid, frankly.
Well, I think he's a Navy intelligence guy, and either Carl Bernstein got... You just said Bob Woodward, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think he's a Navy intelligence guy, and either Carl Bernstein got duped by him or is in on it.
Which is a good segue to the book.
Exactly.
I happen to be, what I do, it probably drives you crazy, but I go through before a show and I'm looking for stuff that we might want to talk about. That's not it. American Thinker, I think you want. Could be next one. Yeah.
Is this it?
Wait
a minute.
There's a book.
Yeah, it's sometimes tricky to have this stuff.
It's a book about Nixon.
Right. We had it in here somewhere. Anyway, it
would be good if we could find it because it's.
Right. It was. What was it called?
I don't know. I forget. But while you're trying to find it, it's a man who was in the Nixon administration and had something to do with, who was intimately familiar with Watergate and what was happening, and then stayed on in the Ford administration, and then was a lawyer. He's written a series of books. This is the 3rd book, basically providing inside baseball on exactly how corrupt the Democrats and the establishment were back in the Nixon period, and how they conspired to turf Nixon out, exaggerating and making the case against Nixon worse than it actually was, while also hiding exculpatory information. So the use of the Washington, D.C. legal system against a politician who threatens the deep state and threatens, that's the guy, Jeff Shepard, exactly. And is that his most recent one?
That's, I think, the one.
Yeah, November 23rd, 2021. That's it, yeah.
It's interesting that he released it on November 23rd.
Well, is that...
Well, it's the day after the Kennedy assassination.
Mm-hmm. And it's got 32 ratings. Let's just take a look at the standard ratings to see. Yeah.
This looks pretty popular.
Mostly 5-star. Let's look at the 1-stars. 10% of them Right. You got to be kidding, right?
He's a phantom.
Jake Phantom, Derek L.
Nixon was not the victim here. He lied to the American public. He had a secret plan to end the Vietnam War. Nixon was no hero and no victim. Well, I agree he wasn't a hero, but he might have been the victim in a spy versus spy. I mean, I definitely think Watergate was the result of him doing probably the regular amount of presidential trickiness and the CIA pushing him out.
Well, let's think about it. I mean, it was Kissinger and Nixon who opened up the relations with China, and specifically with the Communist Party. And people thought that was, at the time, visionary, and that only a right-wing establishment, conservative Republican could do that. And
Why visionary?
Well, because it's the kind of know-it-all bullshit you get from the Council of Foreign Relations, or all these people who,
criminals.
Yeah, who are the member of the same stupidity club. You look at it's sort of like the corollary of the Chinese business model. The Chinese business model is, Jason, I've got a great investment idea for you. Do you know there's 1.4 billion Chinese people, and I'm going to make a glass and sell one of them to 10% of the 1.4 billion. And if we just make $3 on each glass, think about how much money
More money than they all earn
exactly.
in a year.
I can't tell you how many people I've thrown out of my office for that kind of stupid argument. And similarly, the political side of that argument is the 1.4 billion Chinese people, even though they've had the one-child policy, that massive population is going to always be bigger than the United States population. It will always be a more material percentage of the Earth's population. Why are we shouldering the cost of governance of the whole planet when we could lay it off on the Chinese? And don't worry, in their history, they've never been nasty to the people. It's just total bullshit argument.
Yeah.
But that was, Nixon. If you think, why are we in part in the shape that we're in today with a militant EPA? That's Nixon who
did the EPA?
Under Nixon, and with this cozy up to China policy. I mean, those are two Nixonian legacies.
Again, I always wonder if Nixon was fooled somehow. Like, I don't trust Henry Kissinger at all. And as far as I know, from what David Hawkins told me, it was Pierre Trudeau went and was hanging out with Mao before Nixon got over there. So again, it seems more like a globalist thing than a Nixon ingenious idea. And look at where we are now, and Kissinger is still alive.
Sadly, it's a Rockefellerian or Rockefellerian, New World Order kind of construct. Yeah, and look how that's great for them. If you want to make sure that national governments are not powerful enough to constrain global monopolies, then you're all in for unregulated globalism. And you can hire, if you're that rich, you do what Epstein was doing. You gather these people who are geniuses in their field, maybe Nobel Prize winning, scientists or whatever, but are incompetent at dealing with people and susceptible to being punked and honeypotted. And you just figure out what it takes in terms of either plying them with liquor or drugs or little boys or little girls or whatever it is. And suddenly you've got these people who everyone says is a genius saying, well, actually, Jason Goodman's idea to put tarmac on the entire surface of the world is a great idea. I mean, the fact that he owns a tarmac production company.
It's not my idea.
I was gonna say, I mean, there's no conflict there, but you got a Nobel Prize winner saying this is genius.
Charles Bailey says that Soros gave Jared Kushner a $230 million loan. Do you know about that?
I don't know. It's possible. I mean, I do know that Kushner bought 666 Fifth Avenue, I believe, in 2007, which was the peak of the market. And that happened to be the guy who's now dead, Alex Porter, that I was explaining GE to, and who was...
Ooh, look at that.
What?
Well, he didn't disclose business ties. This is Business Insider. But it says that he didn't disclose business ties to George Soros, Peter Thiel, Goldman Sachs.
It's outrageous if that's true.
And Peter Thiel was right there in the White House.
Right.
So there is examination of Trump that needs to go on. The thing that's annoying, though, is that most of the people that have had negative things to say about Trump probably don't know anything about the facts of any of this.
Well, let me just finish, though, on 666.
Sure.
So if you've ever been into 666, it used to have top of the something on it.
Oh, the restaurant there. Yeah, top of the world.
It wasn't top of the world. It was
Top of the Sixes.
Top of the Sixes, yeah.
I was in there when I was a kid, I think.
Right. But
Is
if
it
you
revolving?
I forget, but it might have been actually.
I think I went there.
Yeah, but the guts of the building, when you would go into this guy Alex Porter, he had a very nice suite of offices, but they were extremely expensive. The hallways were narrow when you got off the elevator, and it wasn't that nice. And the building had all kinds of problems, and he paid way too much for it at the peak of right before the crash. And so when you go in. And Jared's father, remember, went to jail for various reasons, and so he's trying to burnish or bring the brand name back, and he's married to into the Trump family and other real estate people. So he schmucked out and paid too much for this building in 2007, and 10 years later, the 10-year loan that probably he got on the building came due while Trump was in his first year of the presidency. So people were talking about what was really going on there. How did he refinance out of that pig, and was he getting preferential treatment because he was the son-in-law, not only the son-in-law of the president, but he was in the White House. I mean, I would argue that Jared Kushner was perhaps, after Melania, the most powerful person in the Trump White House. I mean, he was Melania.
That's a big problem.
Right. I mean, he got a lot of the tough projects that Trump took on. Jared,
he handled, right. Which was not right. It shouldn't be somebody in his family. Now, what do you think about this, Charles? The New York Times article here from 1996 says one of New York City's quirkier culinary institutions died this week. Why was it quirky? I think it was revolving.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but it's interesting that they call it quirky, and it's interesting that you're describing a lot of quirks with the building, and it's interesting that Jared Kushner bought it with a bunch of loans. I wonder if it's not, I mean, look.
This is funny. Reviewing the restaurant of the food in the restaurant. My beef stroganoff was a Swiss steak on noodles reminiscent of 100 airline meals. That's not a good review.
Not a good review. So see, what I'm getting at is, it sounds to me, I was a kid when I went there. I wouldn't know the difference. It was somebody's birthday or anniversary or something, and I was like, wow, a restaurant. But you're saying the building sucked. This is saying the restaurant sucked. 1,700 square feet.
1,000 square feet.
17,000. What if buying this building was some initiation for Jared Kushner where, okay, now you're in our criminal deal on the building, so don't say anything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Giving people loans and things. It seems like I've observed people doing that, trying to get you into some transaction, whether you want to be there or not.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue. So let's quickly go through some of these other articles, and then we'll get into breaking some news. Sure. In 14 minutes, you got to ask me, why is today an important day?
All right.
So this was a performance, I guess Gateway picked up on it, Last Refuge picked up it. This guy is somebody who really should, I mean, they should, from now on, they should say, Joe, look, this is what we're going to do. All of your press conferences and all of your appearances.
Pantomime.
Well, no. We're going to pretend they're live, but they're not live. And we're going to try them out. And if you fuck a press conference up as badly as you fucked this thing up, right? We're invoking the 25th Amendment, and we're going to put a New York City sewer rat, I mean, an actual rat, in the job of President of the United States, because a rat would make better decisions.
Well, what did he say in this one?
This is the one where he basically said, listen, when prices are high, there's kind of two ways to deal with that. And listen, I'm not an economist, but I know what I'm talking about. I mean, what you could do is you can have people earn less money, and so therefore their demand for cars, the expensive cars, will go down, and they'll be happy.
Oh.
Like, what are you talking about? I mean, this is the kind of
Everybody's stuff. Delighted when they start earning less money.
I know. It's like, that's why we elected you president. Put this guy in the job. You'll
What
make
a
less
dope.
money, then you won't notice that cars are more expensive and you can't afford them.
Well, it doesn't matter because they can't build any cars anyway. So
But this is the kind of thing, when you've heard, I remember I've met people over the time who were introduced to me and said, this person is really very insightful and you should meet them and
get some bread rolls.
Well, no, that guy, no. But occasionally, somebody will come along and, this person really knows something special about a subject. In contrast, I won't tell who this person is, but there was a partner at Dylan Reed who was in the habit of paying experts to come give advice so he would look smart, and he hired this expert on Brazil. So I call up my brother, who is...
I'm an expert on Brazil.
Well, you are, but I'm a business expert. Well, you business expert. But
Certain parts.
Certain parts of Brazilian. Yeah, that's good. Offline discussion there. But anyway, so remembering that my grandmother was Brazilian. But anyway, so I call my brother and I say, have you ever heard of this nitwit, so-and-so? And I just knew he was a nitwit because the partner in question was a nitwit. And, I figured the guy was a nitwit. And my brother just started laughing. He said, this guy, he likes to visit Brazil, and he somehow manages to convince idiots around the world that he's a special knowledge of Brazil. He knows nothing about Brazil, but he knows enough to convince people who've never been there that you should pay him money so he can tell you the truth about Brazil when he's not actually doing it.
And then what? You're going to invest or something based on what this guy
Exactly.
says?
Should you put money in Brazil? And that's I've got this vice president. She's really very special. She's part what is she? Jamaican, I think, and Indian, and she was raised in Canada. There's no proof that her mother actually was a naturalized American citizen. But I'm going to make her my vice president, even though she bitch slapped me to hell in the first debate.
And everybody hates her.
And everybody hates her, including most of her staff.
It's unbelievable.
And her mentor and ex-lover doesn't even like her.
Willie Brown?
Willie Brown.
Wasn't there some dust up with the husband that they were separate residences or something?
With her present husband?
I thought I heard
Good,
something.
maybe. I wouldn't shock me. But anyway, I mean, if somebody said to you, hey, Jason, listen, here's somebody, you live in California. This woman was Attorney General of California. She's got a special perspective on California. She wants to come over and, meet you and give you her perspective on how she's going to run the country, sitting there, with Joe Biden, the amiable lunkhead. And, what do you say, Jason? Can you get Charles to take us all out to dinner? And I'd say, fuck that. It's not going to happen. But, that Kamala Harris is not going to offer up one bon mot of anything sensible. I mean, she's a moron.
She's a very unimpressive person to hear speak, and I always felt that way. So, okay, it must have been that I had seen this unverified report, which never stopped them from printing anything crappy about Trump. But the unverified report claims that Kamala Harris's marriage is in crisis with the husband sleeping in a separate bedroom.
Well,
no wedding rings. You know what? Some people, I have to say, a wedding ring, I don't like jewelry at all, particularly not rings. And I used to wear one when I was married, but it definitely gets in the way depending on what your job is. And
oh, well, I just find, I mean, anybody, if you're number two and the president says to you,
speaking of number two.
Yeah. Let's get this number two as far away from me as possible. It's too big for the toilet. But anyway, we got this big problem in the southern border, and I want you to take it, Kamala. And it's your baby. You're going to fix it. And
I'd rather go to Europe.
I'm going to Paris.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to the border,
I haven't been to Europe.
Recently.
I'm going to Europe.
I'm going shopping.
Get some cookware.
That's ridiculous. I mean, honestly. It's just, and the fact that Biden would tolerate this crap, it just makes no sense. So continuing along the litany of recent stories until we get to the Blinken, we talked about that already.
How about this?
Yeah, this was referred by one of our great supporters, who it's quite a story about the CFO of this thing in New Mexico.
Well, this is the thing that's being used by Richard Branson. Spaceport is for the Virgin Galactic.
But here's the CFO accusing a sitting governor of fraud.
Perish the thought. I think most of them are doing fraud.
That's how we roll. How do you think we get paid? But this is from the inside. This is a guy saying, I have specific knowledge that a bond offering contained, fraudulent information, and when I tried to whistleblow, they attacked me, which is a standard thing that we see.
Zach D.
I love this, the way he closes. I'm Zach D. Gregorio, certified public accountant, and you, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, you are a crook. I like this. We should try to get this guy.
Stated. Yeah, we should get him on the show. I'm interested to hear more about that.
261-page
Holy
complaint.
crap. It is supposed to be a brief and concise statement. That seems long to me.
I don't know why you'd think a book length complaint is long, Jason.
That seems a bit lengthy. Wow. Now, wait a minute. Let's just see if this guy's who's representing him. That's a hell of a complaint, Charles. He's got a lot of exhibits there. I guess that might explain it. Wow. Well, I'm interested to find out more about this. What is it that he's...
Basically alleging... we can speak to Kathleen Sloan. Look at your email or phone number.
That's the sun. Maybe they were going to launch a mission to the sun. Yeah, I guess he's got a lot of
exhibits and stuff.
Yeah.
But the point is, when people talk to me about public-private partnerships, government working together with
theft,
business, it's just, it's corruption, it's theft. Most people, the skills that are involved in quotes, seeking and keeping elective office are very different than the skills that are involved promoting a good business idea and avoiding a bad business idea. They're just you actually care about the results, and you should. Here you go.
But it seems too long, and I'm all for pro se, but I don't think you're allowed to file an 84-page complaint. It's usually like 30 pages is the max.
Well, there he is.
It seems like he's pro se because I don't see a lawyer's name on here. Wow. The defendants are liable for $11.2 million.
This is not even English, right? The total damages the defendants are liable for are $11.2 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's...
Maybe English is not his first... He is an accountant. I mean, some accountants are not good with writing.
And that's the thing. I mean, I was just curious to know. I'm not disparaging the guy at all, just curious to know.
But interesting, I mean, I think that our friend who brought this to my attention, our attention, did so, I think, with a view to saying, well, finally, people on the inside are now coming forward and beginning to expose financial crimes involving government officials. And, it's high time that we did all this. Instead of raising taxes across the board against, it's really not the rich, it's everybody, why don't we simply enforce the laws that are on the books with particular specificity on the charity world, which hides in plain sight, protecting all kinds of criminals, as we're about to show you more evidence. So let's go into...
I think this guy downloaded the same template that I use because certain lawyers have told me, why do you have these numbers here? And I was like, I don't know. I just downloaded that.
That's what I do.
So it seems like he's doing that. Well, I appreciate the guy going pro se. I'm going to try to find him and see if we can learn more about that.
Good. We did this already. And now this is a good thing from Glenn Greenwald. And even I don't know why I had a different memory of this. My memory was that the second impeachment was over in 2020 before the pandemic started. And in reality, the second impeachment began January 6th, 2021. And the essence of this piece by Glenn Greenwald is that the reason that Trump blew hot and then turned cold on the idea of pardoning Assange and pardoning Snowden and releasing the full JFK files and the other things he was going to do on the way out the door is that Republican senators threatened to vote against him, compromised Republican senators threatened to vote against him in the impeachment trial. Now, if this is, and he's claiming, this is not Jaime Manouche. This is Glenn Greenwald,
Who's Jaime Manouche?
right? Just somebody on the street in New York. It could be smoking dope, for all we know, and maybe Glenn does smoke dope. But this is somebody who's been in the news
and knows everything
a long
about
time,
Assange,
and
Snowden.
and does know all these players. And this is inside baseball. This is his Substack. This is his working theory, and he claims that he's not saying I have definitive proof of this theory, but this is a working theory. That's why he calls it the semi-inside story. And this does make sense to me, that you would win the presidency as Donald Trump, as Barack Obama, as Bill Clinton, and that's when the big lions come out of the woodwork, and you think that you're the top dog on the planet, and some representative of Her Majesty's government says, well, actually, the way this works is we have pictures of you and a goat. And so it's quite, to me, when I look at what's going on and what's trying to prosecute the Clinton Foundation or get that case across the line, it's crystal clear to me that the UK government was well aware, elements in the UK government were well aware of manifold defects in many presidents, including Bill Clinton and the Bushes and others, and had prospered before we became the leaders of the free world, when they were running the Commonwealth and all these colonies and stuff like this. They had made a shit ton of money with their illegal deep state activities, standing governments up, bringing them down, getting this contract to exploit that resource in whatever place. So they've been doing this for a long time. They were doing it, for Christ's sake, in America. That's why America was created in the beginning, to exploit the natural resources of the continent. And so, it seems highly likely to me that that no single president, even a multi-billionaire like Trump, would be able to go against that group unless that president had the type of experience that Trump has had, where he tried and he failed to really drain the swamp. And now the only question is, will he live long enough to run? Will he be attractive enough to win in 2023-24 cycle? Or is he already damaged goods, Trump? And is the deep state sort of licking his chops and saying, you thought we had you under our thumbs back in 1999. Look what we did with the Patriot Act. Now look what we've done with the health. We're going towards health passports. Wait till we start rationing your ability to have bank accounts and health care and stuff like that. So you didn't follow your cue, but I'll let you ask me the question now.
I forgot what the question is because something strange was happening with the microphones.
Okay, well, the question is, why is today a special day?
Why is today a special day, Charles?
Because 40 years ago, roughly at this time, I decided at my wedding that I was never going to be in politics because there were so many people in the receiving line.
Handing you cash?
They were actually checks and cash, but other gifts, but they were shaking my hand. And I was about 400 people or so, and you're shaking hands.
And it hurt.
It did hurt a little bit. That wasn't the problem. It was my back hurt actually, just from standing there in a long line. And I thought to myself, this is only 400 people. I mean, imagine if you ran for Senate and you had to, shake, I don't know how many,
just invent COVID, and then nobody can touch you.
Well, so I turned to Clarissa, actually, after we got through all that. I said, I got one promise I can make to you now. I will never get into elective politics. And I think it's been obviously a long time. But I believe the wedding was at 3 and the reception started at 4. It's quite something for me to think that I would have been married for 40 years.
Wow.
And that both of my children are today, in one case, appreciably older, but older than I was 40 years ago on the day I got married.
Wow.
So I just wanted to
That's good.
That
well,
thing.
I appreciate you sharing that, Charles. Now, but there's something that you were saying earlier that set me on a tangent of thinking that also distracted me. And I wanted to ask you about this because you were talking about, we have a picture of you with a goat and all that. And actually, just the other day, this was weird. There's sometimes, I think I've mentioned to you offline, I'm kind of fascinated by the merger of computer learning and human learning, and how when we start to interact with something like YouTube, if you're logged in on your account and you're following your interests on there and everything, it starts to give you videos, and it can sometimes figure out things that you're interested in.
Even though you don't know it yet.
Yeah, and bring you information that can be kind of really important. And so along the lines of those, we have pictures of you or whatever, I got a video the other day that was, Donald Trump's yacht, but like 1980 something when he bought it, and it was on Fox, and he was there talking about how great it is. So that yacht, that was the Trump Princess.
Yeah, and Waleed got that.
Well, wait. Okay. Let's look at the history. Now it's Kingdom 5KR.
Yeah, well, that's Waleed's empire is called Kingdom Holdings.
Right. And it seems to me that if you're a Waleed, why do you need a used yacht? You could get
He's
a new one.
He's a cheap motherfucker. I mean,
But why the Trump yacht? And
because Trump was insulting him. There was a whole back and forth between Trump and Waleed. Waleed was trying to be like Trump. I mean, in the 80s, Waleed was in his early 30s, I think, and Trump had already made it big time. And I think Trump made some negative comments about, the Middle Eastern people. I don't know if he called them towel heads or something. He made some, it was just called a derogatory comment about the Middle East. And I think also he bought this yacht prior to 2001, or he got the thing prior to 2001, because I was in Waleed's office, meeting with him when he took me into his gigantic private office to show me the model of this yacht. And he just got, this is 1993, I think. Sold in 1991 to Waleed for $20 million.
But I'm just saying, that just seems like such small potatoes for these guys. I mean, you look at the Octopus or the Steve Jobs yacht or any of these yachts now, I don't understand why this guy has this. And I think there's something about this yacht. So it goes from Adnan Khashoggi to Trump to Waleed, right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about another yacht.
Wait, this is Nabila, is named for Khashoggi's daughter, and Ghislaine, the yacht of Maxwell.
You're stealing my punchline, Charles.
Well, YouTube gave me.
So here's Dancing Hare. And this is the yacht. It was originally the Lady Ghislaine.
Whoa, who's this Anna Murdoch?
Exactly what I'm trying to ask you about, because here it's Anna Maria Mann. I never heard of her either, but Murdoch makes me think of Rupert Murdoch.
Well, let's if you hit that blue link, who is she?
Anna Murdoch Mann.
Scottish. She's a man, baby.
That's my mother.
Let's see, an Estonian-born merchant and a Scottish dry cleaner. She's a dry cleaning business.
Rupert Murdoch. She's married to him.
No.
At one point, from 1967 to divorced in 1999.
Okay, so who are the kids they had together? Elizabeth Murdoch?
I mean, wait a minute. How do we have
keep it here.
All of these people who are...
Okay, look, this is the two leaders of the empire, Lachlan and James.
Well, right.
That's
so
the mother.
What is going on these two yachts that everybody needs to own them? And try, there's something on that yacht.
She really is. Look at the names she's been married. She's Mrs. Mann, right? And then she remarried to Ashton.
Mr. Mann.
Ashton de Peister. I mean, I for me, I'd say, no real disrespect intended here, Mr. de Peister, but if you want me to marry you, could you change your name?
Is that Swedish or something?
I don't know, but change both of them. My husband, Ash. Ass. He's a de Peister.
That's a pretty regal Ashton
de Peister.
But I don't know. Something's up with these yachts. And the fact that Anna Murdoch owns it now, it's all, Rupert Murdoch and Robert Maxwell, those dudes were hanging out forever.
Yeah, I mean, when you start getting into...
hacking phones, not getting in trouble...
When you start getting into yachts of that size, you are dealing with people who don't care about the capital cost of the yacht because the maintenance cost is so gigantic. I mean, to actually run a 270-foot yacht...
But aren't there many that you could buy? Why do all these people who seem to be connected by other things own the same yachts?
It's a thing. I mean, who else has a big yacht is Les Wexner. Let's look how big his
Well, it's not a question of the size. It's just the history of the ownership of the same. And this looks like they might be on a yacht, doesn't it?
I think there's like a fraternity or a grouping of the super yacht owners, and
It's called the Council on Foreign Relations. What did you want to see?
Way above that. No, let's just go in. I want to drop some news here, and
Sure.
so let's go into This is the Massachusetts Attorney General, and just to remind. Well, actually, first let's go to Massachusetts. Let's punch in the EIN 31-1580204. Okay, and let's go to the 2004 990. I'm sorry, 2005 990. There you go. All right. Okay, so this is from, now it says how many pages it is somewhere? All right, this says it is 46 pages. Fauci out of the way here. All right, so now let's do the same. If we could put it side by side with the ProPublica. Punch in Bill, Hillary, Bill, Hillary, Bill, Hillary, ampersand, Chelsea Clinton. We should get right to it. Yeah. Ooh.
Don't they need the Oxford comma?
Yeah, and then you punch that. And let's look at the 2005 990.
Is that it?
Yeah. Lower. Yeah. Let's put that. Look, this is 72 pages long, and this one is filed November 6th, 2006. Is it 6th or 8th? I can't read it.
Well,
it could be 8.
Hard to read.
The 8 there. The number looks different than the 6 at the end. Right, you got 2006.
Yeah. Hard to tell.
I think it's November 8th. So now let's go into the Clinton Foundation website, and let's look at the 2005 990 that's there. Clinton Foundation annual. About putting people first, yeah, specifically Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton. Then you go down the page.
Hi.
Reports and financials.
Where is that? Oh.
And then you audited financial statements 2005. Let's look at that one. See what comes up. Okay. Yeah, this is 78 pages though, with a 20-page. Roughly 20-page accountant's report. So it's really 58 pages. So we have 3 different versions.
Oh, it's supposed to all be the same?
So, yeah, but let's go to the page where it shows when it was, in theory, filed, right? And I don't know if we could put these eventually up side by side, but if we see here...
Will it have a stamp?
Yeah, right there. Keep going. Stop. At the bottom, this is December 20th, 2006, this is filed, not November 8th, 2006.
Why is that different?
Well, because what I learned, I see here, it's December 20th, 2006. And originally when I saw that, I said, no, wait a second. You're not allowed to file as late as December 20th, 2006. So with, one of the people that I've been in touch with is Mr. Mozambique, Larry Doyle. And I was telling him, this recent week, I said, it's amazing, because we had talked back in 2017. He was the one who ordered a whole bunch of stuff from the different states, and we had agreed. And he there's no point in getting the 990 that is on file in Massachusetts and comparing it to the one the Clinton Foundation says it filed on its site, or comparing that to the one that's somewhere else, because we thought that you're not going to be dumb enough to put different versions of the same. But they did. But it's exactly what they did. And the reason they did it this way, in Massachusetts, you see, they had the Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative, the fake thing that this Jacob Bernstein should care about, New York Times Style and
Is
Furniture
it
Report.
furniture or gay? Because if it's not, he doesn't
No,
care.
he cares about philanthropy. So that's what you should care. Well,
Philandering.
this isn't philanthropy,
Yeah.
so that's why he doesn't care about it. But if you go into the ProPublica version, which is the 90-odd page or whatever it was, so, yeah, this one here. Not this one. You had it up.
This.
Is this the ProPublica? Yeah, this one. Go almost to the back, and you should have. You'll see why here. Oh, let's just see what they. Further up. It's you have various agreements. Keep going further up. Yeah, this is the merger thing.
Why is it not signed?
Well, they don't. They don't want you to see this because it's a complete fraud. There is no such thing as the William J. Clinton Foundation at any time. We'll show you that in a second. But before then, you get to the before this article. Here you have amended and restated bylaws adopted on the 25th, it could be 6th, but 25th day of April 2005. And it's signed by this resident idiot, Andrew M. Kessel, who's a chief financial officer. And the fact that the CFO signs something having to do with the bylaws of an entity is irrelevant. He's not a trustee of the thing, so he signs it. He's not swearing.
But it's also not really a signature line, is it?
Right. He's just. I mean, let's go to the top of this page.
Yeah, he's just signing it in the middle of the thing.
Or let's go to the very beginning, actually. And this will be. No. You passed the beginning. So, all right. What does it say here at the very top?
William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation.
Oh, slowly. The William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation. This is April 25th, 2005.
Yeah.
Principal Office of uppercase T, the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation, hereinafter referred to as the corporation. Blah, blah, blah. This is all about the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation, but we separately showed you that on the same day they changed the name of the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation to the William J. Clinton Foundation. So suddenly, by the act of changing the name the wrong way, only changing it by an article of amendment that guts the balance of the Articles of Incorporation because it deletes a defined term and renders the whole articles gibberish, you've fucked over the articles, and you've changed the name of the articles, which get that the articles are seen by everybody. The bylaws may or may not be seen. So some would argue in the hierarchy the bylaws are less important. They're both important, but they're less important than the articles. So you fucked yourself with the articles, and now you fucked yourself with the bylaws because you have no bylaws for the William J. Clinton Foundation, right? And so
this is great. Send it money.
Yeah, right. And so from April 25th, 2005, we're now going to show you until November 2nd, 2013. Which is a long period of time. It's almost 8 years. I mean, it's more than 8 years, actually. There are no bylaws. Without bylaws, you can't function. There's no organization. So for this entire period, you've got the FBI investigation over and done with. You get your first full year of the Clinton Foundation being open in Little Rock. It signed this lease agreement with the city in March 1st, 2002. It signed an agreement with the archives.
We don't need no stinking bylaws.
We got debts outstanding against all this stuff, saying the organization this, the organization that. And there's just no organization.
It's magic.
Right. And you can't look at this and say, well, this is sloppiness. This is on purpose. I mean, the reason that they don't have these bylaws, and you're supposed to, in states like New York and Massachusetts and California, the real states that charge heavy tax burdens and therefore offer donors significant benefits if a charity is legitimate to write off against your state taxes, they care whether the charity is fake or not.
But apparently not. They're not looking into any of this.
No, well, they do care. So let's do something new. We can delete all this. This shows that the parent company didn't exist in the time frame. But now you overuse this phrase, and it's religious. So forgive me for using it. But for shits and giggles, let's look at at Massachusetts again, and let's punch in a different. The mainland. You're almost to the left.
Yeah, it becomes tricky.
Right there. Yeah. Now let's go back. No,
this one?
yeah, and let's go page back. And we're now going to go, if you just did, search, perform a new search. We're going to punch in, take out the EIN, please, and punch in Clinton Health Access Initiative. Okay, now let's have some fun with this one. We're really going to have some fun with this one. This is the biggest piece at one point of the Clinton Foundation. Okay, and we look in here, and you see it's got materials, Jason. The most recent material in line 1 is for what year?
19.
What year is it this year?
Well, it's 2022.
So where's the filing for 2020?
It's probably with the Emmys.
Ain't no filing. We don't need no stinking filing.
Yeah, they've all decided not to file.
So
Inconvenient documents.
So we see you have articles of organization there and bylaws. You see you have an entry for 15. Keep going down the page. You'll see there's another one for 10. There's now.
Why is that? They keep changing
I'm going to
them?
show you. And this is in the category.
Normally there's just one, right?
Well, no. Every time you amend it, there should be a different version, and you're required on a timely basis. In New York State, within 15 days, I think, of a material event, you've got to notify the public that something changed. So here, if we hit the bottom one, 186, and we look into this document, look into the eyes of this beautiful not that.
No.
Yeah, this thing. So let's get that big, and all right, these are the bylaws. What does it say in the upper right corner there?
Final.
Does that mean?
I would yell at somebody at 21st Century 3D if they gave me a shot with the title final. I'd say, first of all, don't ever call something final. Second of all, this is not final. Go fix it.
Right. But this is in the Office of the Attorney, AG office, on March 5th, 2010.
Yeah, right, here
Okay?
on the right.
So let's go down to the end page and see the date of this document. Okay? Let's see. When were
blank.
these bylaws adopted?
Doesn't really say.
Does that sound suspicious to you?
Well, I
Jason?
don't understand how they can file these things without signatures and dates.
Yeah,
and-
does that sound at all suspicious?
Well, it's talking about 2009, and this thing over here is saying it's 2010.
That's when it filed, right?
But it's a long time.
All right, so let's keep going. This is in the category of they really think we're stupid and we're not going to check. Let's go back into the index, and now we're going to go sequentially and look at each one of these organizational bylaws. Let's look at the 2010 one.
This?
10 is this one here, not line 30. 180, yeah. Okay, is that it?
This is it.
This is the same. This says final copy, and this says, what is the date in the upper right there? March.
It's very difficult to read. Let's see, maybe the next page is better. They have a bad fax machine or something. I can't really read it.
All right, well, let's go to the signature page, and let's see.
Hang on now. Let's just see here. Yeah, I can't read that at all. Can you?
No, I can't. No. But let's go to the final page.
3. It looks like 2002. Is that possible? 12?
Could be 12. But let's just go down the page to the signature page, and let's see the final. You got it here.
But that's it.
No, further up. Okay, what is it? This says the 3rd of February, 2010. This is the
Look at
same
how-
final copy, right? Now, Jason, what do you think the odds are that that's not the real date?
Pretty
and that
good.
they'd be dumb
considering-
enough to file another version, which tells you the various dates upon which, in theory, it was adopted and amended. Do you think they'd be that stupid?
I want to bet $1, Bob.
All right, so go back into the index.
That was my favorite move on The Price is Right. The $1 guy, everyone's like, oh.
You're that serious, right?
They win, though, with the $1.
All right, so keep going up. Let's find the... Okay, any more? Here we go. 15. All right. And what does this show us? It's a different one, yeah. Let's look at the final page. There you go. These bylaws are adopted on the 3rd day of December 2009, amended on
Wow.
the 18th day of July 2011, then the 8th day of December, then the 11th day of
Why
November.
so many changes?
Well, the point is, they can't all be right? I mean, either there's no date, then it's 3rd of February, which is what they told the Bahamas. Then it's the 3rd day of December.
Why are they so? If you're trying to lie, don't you want to arrange it kind of carefully?
If you lie comprehensively, you go into you say to the Attorney
Tell
General.
them all the same thing.
You go to the Attorney General of Massachusetts. You get George Soros or somebody to drop by with a bazooka and an armory and $10 million of $100 bills, and you say, listen, we could have a small party or a big party. You tell me what you want to do. If you want to have a small party, we'll give you the $10 million. You take us out to dinner. You keep the difference. On a big party, we're going to blow your fucking house up and your family and everybody else with these munitions. So which way do you want to do it? And let's go into the records of the Attorney General of Massachusetts and fix everything retroactively. We'll have everything be, there won't be 5 different versions of this, even if they're supposed to be. We'll just go in, we'll pay what it costs in a democratic state to cheat effectively. But here it's crystal clear, and it should be crystal clear to an auditor, that, there's a serious problem here. You don't know when this thing actually started. And back in 2009, to refresh your recollection, chai existed in 2009. They were trading under the name chai beginning in 2007, when Unitate started forking over a couple $100 million to something called chai that actually didn't exist. So whether it was organized on the 3rd day of December or in 2010 or some other date, it really does matter, especially because, as we're going to show you in a second, this entity in Massachusetts run by the slop head, Ira Magaziner, who's really, he should not be allowed out of his house.
Not even to use that Weber grill.
Nothing. No, he should just be like in one of these suits.
Sarcophagus.
Ira, have some more applesauce, okay? Tell everybody you're a Rhodes Scholar. Nobody will believe you.
Through a straw.
Because here's this Massachusetts thing that is engaged in operations around the world, in most cases, and in particular in the African and Southeast Asian countries, the poor ones. When you go and try to operate, as we found in India with the Mother Teresa charity, local countries are suspicious of Ira Magaziner types who's come in and say, I've got a charity in Massachusetts. All I want to do is bring you money. I just really have always wanted to help poor people. That's why I'm rich and live in a mansion.
Right.
I have no poor people friends. But, and I'm the chief policy officer, meaning I don't do squat, but I'm a windbag. And I can't fill out any paper. When you operate in, to pick a country, Tanzania, where they started in 2002, even back in 2002, and perhaps especially because of the history of Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, the founder, was a socialist, and he was a leader of the non-aligned movement. He didn't trust the Soviets, he didn't trust the Americans, he played them off again, and he was very suspicious of do-gooders coming into these African countries. So if you want to operate a charity in Tanzania, you've got this department you've got to register with, and that department, and another department, and each time you file documents in Tanzania, you have to swear that the documents that you're showing are true. And so, of course, all the filings this knucklehead has made around the world are false, whether in Massachusetts, Africa, you name it. They're all false. And he's going around saying, I'm the smartest man in the world. Bill Clinton works for me, and I came up with this. He gives interviews we've talked about in the past where 90% of the operations of the Clinton Foundation are under my control. I'm the chairman of the Clinton Foundation. Bill is just,
Oh, wait a minute. Didn't we were outside the Tanzania embassy or something. They had, with the zebras on it. Wasn't that Tanzania?
It could have been.
Or maybe it was Botswana. It must have been Botswana. But
Yeah.
The African Great Lakes nation of Tanzania.
Yeah, I mean, when I spent part of 1977 in Kenya, it was at a time when relations between Kenya and Tanzania were horrible, and I was not, as an American, allowed to go into Tanzania, though I wanted to.
Wow.
That's where Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania.
I think this was Botswana that we saw because it had zebras, and I found it strange.
Yeah. But I mean, again, the way the lamestream press pitches conservatives and Republicans is, we're the thoughtless people who run roughshod over. We're the colonialists. We're the people who don't respect the locals. And here's a case in point. Now,
anti-vax.
Let's go back into we're not done. I know you'd like us to be done.
When I cut to the wide shot, I try to have that there so that it's.
But if we go into back into the index for chai, in Massachusetts, there you go. Let's look at 2012 at the audit. All right, now. This is to me a masterpiece in bullshit. This is an all.
Welcome to Bullshit Masterpiece Theater. Now wait a minute. What happened to the thing?
I know.
Here it is.
No, that's not it.
This.
Yeah, there we go. All right, here we have the august firm of Meyer, Hoffman, McCann, PC. They're the first people to do a, quote, serious audit in theory of Clinton Health Access Initiative, Inc., notice, and subsidiaries. Right, and it says consolidated financial statements. So when I worked for the Japanese between 1991 and 1993 or 4, what I learned then is consolidation rules were not global. So to be truly consolidated, what it means, if you had Ortel Enterprises and we had 100 subsidiaries around the world, I couldn't show you a balance sheet for last year, for 2020, that had Ortel Enterprises. Let's say I wanted to show you a rocket ship up like this, in terms of trends or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in all the loss-making companies for 2020, right? We'll put them in there and we'll take out the profit-making ones. And then in 2021, we'll put in all the profit-making ones, take out all the loss ones. We have this trend that's like, it's up there. We're going to get up to Virgin, whatever, Galactic. We're going to get out into space before Elon Musk does.
Call that governor.
But that's what the Japanese were doing.
Wow, I thought that they would be reluctant to lose face over something like that.
Well, you don't lose face if you hide your face. I mean, it's just like, when I would ask questions like that to the Japanese, the response I always
they laugh, right?
They go,
What do you mean? Like, they laugh. Like, there's an uncomfortable laugh that is part of Japanese culture when you're like, why is the money not in the bank yet? Ha ha ha! It's like, that's not funny. Why are you laughing? I'm telling you, I've gotten into this.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, why do you have? You told me you were poor, but why do you have this? Why are you a member of this super expensive golf club and you've got mistresses and whatever? Anyway, so the consolidation. It sounds, maybe you should come up with a bit different, simpler name, like all the shit. That's what everything is supposed to be in consolidation.
This is the turducken of financial statements.
So typically you have to at a minimum show 2 years of results. Some people will force you to have 3, but on the same basis you should have the same basis, the income statement and the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. So the same collection of subsidiaries and affiliates on the same basis, and you should really only be putting in here things that you control. So if you have 5% interest in some, road hauling company in Botswana, you don't put it in. You got to have 51% or more, or a certain percentage. There's different standards depending on what you're doing it for. But anyway. And most importantly, you want to show comparable stuff year to year. So with this preamble, this is the first attempt, which is May 23rd, 2013. Jason, put that date, May 23rd, 2013, because we're going to come back to it once I go through all this. This is the first attempt to actually show real results for this piece of shit.
I should say that right here on the cover.
This steaming punk of shit. So anyway, we go down the page. We got a table of contents, right? So the report.
Accountants love the table of contents.
No, it's important. It's actually important. What I've learned with accountants, the most important thing is to understand what should be on the page but isn't. Right? So these are consolidated financial statements, which is different than just a company report. Could mean just the company, not its subsidiaries. This is supposed to be everything. The report of the accounting firm, the balance sheet, the equivalent of an income statement, a breakdown of expenses, a statement of consolidated cash flows in theory, which we're going to discover is not the case, and then footnotes explaining all this mess. So we go through the page. Let's go through the report, blah, blah, blah. We go down the page, to the next page.
Definitely Meyer Heyman sounds like a...
May 23rd, 2013 in Boston, Mass. Here, this is the other matters, which is like, we'll read it and then I'll tell you what it really means. The financial statements of Clinton Health Access Initiative, Inc. and subsidiaries, notice not consolidated, and subsidiaries, as of December 31st, 2011, were audited by other auditors whose report dated June 27, 2012 expressed an unmodified opinion on those statements.
Is this
This
guy?
is what this really means, okay? BKD, a shithouse fake firm of accountants, prepared rotgut that they passed off as audited statements, and we can't criticize them harshly enough, so we're just going to not even talk about them. I mean, that's what that sentence actually means. You don't accept, statements that are prepared on a ludicrous basis, which, as you'll see, the MHM comes closer to doing it correctly. But the way BKD did them was absurd, and MHM has changed the approach taken in 2012, the first year they audited, and also changed the approach for 2011.
But why would the Clintons want to bring these guys in?
I don't think the Clintons did want to bring them in. I think what happened is that the local people at Chi said, listen, I mean, BKD, or Ernie Skirmy is fine. You trot Ernie Skirmy out, the accountant, who's one of the top people on the Clinton Foundation. You can have Ernie the Skirmy. He can work on the Little Rock shit, but he's not welcome here in Boston. That just doesn't cut it. Ernie, no Skirmy here in Massachusetts. We're getting Meyer, Hoffman, and McCann. So we go to the next. Let's go to the footnotes actually before we go to the financial statements.
At the end?
It's on page 10, I think, or 11. Okay, now let's go just through this for a second and realize how absurd it is. The first paragraph: the Clinton Health Access Initiative is incorporated in Arkansas as a nonprofit founded by President Bill Clinton. No part of that sentence is true. It was not founded by Bill Clinton when he was president. It wasn't founded by Bill Clinton when he wasn't president.
How about Epstein?
Epstein had nothing to do with this Clinton Health Access Initiative. He was in jail.
Dershowitz thinks.
Well, yeah, Epstein. That's the 2002 timeframe. But to provide solutions to the biggest challenges impeding effective healthcare delivery in developing countries. That's the kind of shit you put on your Rhodes Scholarship application. Right. But what does that mean?
Send it to Dennis Chang.
What does that have to do with charity? Right? The healthcare segment of the American economy is the biggest, I think, segment. If you count health insurance and healthcare provision, it's a gigantic share. Because it's a lot of people, work, nurses,
Mostly
doctors,
fat.
All this kind of stuff. And then I love this idea. Chi applies the rigorous thinking, analysis, and urgency of the business world, a place Bill Clinton had no experience,
Right.
to save lives, a thing that Bill Clinton has never done.
And that the business world is not well suited to doing.
and strengthen health systems rapidly and more efficiently. It's like, this is just come on. I mean, if you're handing out Rhodes Scholarships, yeah, okay, this is a non-paragraph and it's false. Okay, this is we're only on the first paragraph. Then we get into this thing as a trusted partner to governments. Now, okay, this is
What governments?
Well, this is issued May 23rd, 2013. Lardass is safely out of the job as Secretary of State. She's, getting ready.
You could just call her Lard.
She's out of there. She's getting ready to rig the election in 2015-16, and she's working with Dennis Chang to try to raise the money to do that. But there's a very significant difference between working for governments, which means that you're an agent, which means that you have to register if it's a foreign government as an agent, under FARA. You've got to register. So here they're admitting that they're an agent to governments in this paragraph. And when you look into, as we've gone in the past, a charity, you can't be tax exempt if you're an agent of a foreign government.
Oh,
Right? You just can't be. So here's this, and I bet you Ira Magaziner wrote this shit for the equivalent of Ernie Skirmy. It's don't worry, I'll describe the nature of operations. I'm the chief policy officer. So trusted partner. Now, and I love these numbers that come up. Chai's programs have helped more than 4 million people.
Have they?
4 million people. That's a lot
but
of
isn't
people.
this new? How could it?
Well, this is in its third year in theory of operations because it came together in 10, 11, 12. So in 3 years, it's helped more than 4 million people.
Pretty good.
And have led to more than $1 billion in savings for developing countries.
Really?
Like, how do you come up with that number?
Right.
I mean, well, why not $100 billion? Or why not $60? I mean, there's no.
But how is it savings? If you're providing AIDS drugs and things that they didn't have before, they're not saving anything. You're bringing them something new.
But this is the kind of crap that a bad consultant puts in a report. It sounds good. Like, I paid you Ira a lot of money, and I got to figure out why I did this. Well, it's because you don't want me to tell your wife you're cheating on her, and I got pictures of that. Oh, yeah, okay. No, I mean,
This actually would cost these countries money because if you're saving people's lives, now they need more roads and more buildings. If all these people were dying, the government was saving money.
right. Well, and again, it's just sort of an arbitrary statement with no proof behind it. Then, in addition to retaining its initial focus on HIV/AIDS care and treatment, Chai implements programs on vaccines. This is consultant speak. This is not in English. You don't implement programs on the vaccine, right? Malaria, health systems, UFOs, farts, whatever. I mean, this is just
put
a
them
list
in a jar.
of stuff. Yeah.
NFTs now
Make
of
money.
that jarred fart.
$38,000. So in more than 25 countries. Well, the real number is way more than 25 countries. It's more like 60 countries or 100 countries. And what was really going on here, I think, is that Ira Magaziner was crooked, frankly, and figured out that under the cover of the Clinton brand name, with the crooks who wanted to buy off the Clintons and Hillary, he could go around the world to crooked
Get a
nations
lot of money.
and get a lot of stupid-ass multilateral and rich donors like Bill Gates, who were also in the crooking game, to give money to these governments who would not employ the charity to do the procurement of the AIDS stuff, but would employ Ira Magaziner's consulting company to do it. Because the math doesn't hold up. That you can't have saved $1 billion for these countries if you add up the amount of money that went, as we're going to show you in a second, to other than salaries, travel, conferences, and stuff. They haven't spent that much money at Chai in the 3 years, 10, 11, 12, to yield $1 billion in savings. If they've only spent, let's call it $200 million, it's not even that much, but let's call it $200 million on drugs and diagnostics.
What's the formula for how that saved $1 billion?
How could you save $1 billion? I mean, if you only spent
Coupons? I don't know.
it's
Clipping.
Right. So this is where we get into. This is a little dense, but this is total garbage. The third paragraph. The accompanying consolidated financial statements include assets, liabilities, net assets of Chai, and the various, not all the subsidiaries. Remember, the Japan trick is the various subsidiaries, the one that'll kind of make the trend look good. Those are the various subsidiaries established in its countries. And who's its? Its countries of operation to facilitate on-the-ground service delivery. I mean, that's like a thought in a sentence that hasn't been completed.
Yeah.
And then it says the above related entities, not in every, it should say in every case, are in most cases, and we know with these guys, most could mean like
Too vague.
2 out of 50, in most cases under common management control, with Chai being the sole corporate member. And then here's the one, I love this. While certain consolidated entities are technically independent, that's impossible. You don't consolidate something that's technically independent. You shouldn't be consolidating. If it's truly independent, it shouldn't
It's
be
its own thing.
Right. Management has included such entities given the control and evidence of economic interest that results in effective control, and thus consolidated presentation is appropriate. This is written by a moron.
Well, but it's written, to me, this reads like something to be read in front of a delegation of people who don't speak English.
In front of a delicatessen,
Yeah.
run by a Pakistani immigrant who doesn't speak English.
But you know what I mean? You go to these confabs. I used to go to these 3D things where it was like one Korean scientist after the next, and you could not understand a word these guys were saying.
But the food was good. Oh, not even.
No,
Not even.
not really. But I mean, this to me reads like something that if you read it in front of a room of people who English was a second language, they'd feel like, this person sounds very smart.
Right.
I don't know what they're talking about.
So let's go down a little bit. It's a little bit of minutia, but I want to make sure people, okay. Go to the next page, please.
This
You
thing
have to
doesn't
do that
turn pages that
11
easily.
or 12, yeah. Estimates, cash and equivalents, keep going down the page. Assets held by affiliate due to affiliate. Now, this I love. Assets held by affiliate represent, I don't think that's correct English, cash and cash equivalents held by, now Jason, is there anything in 2013, specifically May 23rd, 2013, called the William J. Clinton Foundation? There is no such entity.
Presidential.
No, it's called, in theory, William J. Clinton Foundation. There's no the. And this is how you fuck over donors. You keep around an entity called the William J. Clinton Foundation somewhere that gets the donations, but doesn't go into the books. Right? It's there, but it shouldn't be. And that this is charity fraud, the essence of charity fraud. So that is supposedly the foundation, even though it doesn't exist. These are cash and cash equivalents held by a non-existent foundation, and this is what I really like, this arrogant person, in the so-called Chai Fund. Now, if you ever...
What do you mean?
That's what it says, in the so-called. To me, so-called is like...
Made up.
It's not the real name,
Yeah.
but we call it the Chai Fund. I mean, we could have called it the Hooker Fund,
That's
but that might
amazing.
have gotten, attention. So
Yeah,
we call it the so-called Chai Fund. So in other words, people send money towards Chai, but the Clinton Foundation steals it, and we keep it in a fund over here. It does, just never mind.
Don't look at it.
Never
Don't look at
mind.
that.
Never mind. So
Wow.
these assets, blah, blah, blah. Management has included these amounts in Chai's financial statements, even though they're in the William J. Clinton Foundation that doesn't exist, given that the foundation does not have variance power over these funds, and thus has concluded that all of the rights of ownership inure to its benefit. By its, do you mean Chai? Do you mean the foundation? Do you mean Magazineer? Do you mean the crooks? I don't know. But I read this and I'd say, your issue, don't put final on a document.
Yeah.
Don't put garbage in an audit. I mean, this is just, what are you talking about here? Why is some foundation that doesn't exist holding Chai money? And how much money, and when did this start?
And he's really revealing it by calling it so-called. It's almost like his sinister mind can't resist.
Yeah, and then we have assets limited as to use include. Doesn't mean everything. It means assets held by Chai under its arrangement with Unitaid. Okay, they say the assets may be only used for pediatric and second-line drugs without explaining what that means. Second line or first line and second line HIV antiretroviral drugs, and you have to know what those are to grasp the meaning. They should explain it. And related commodities and diagnostics, blah, blah, blah. The remaining amounts in assets limited as to use include grants and contributions, and then it should say, comma, cash on hand at the end of the year from other funders. What are you talking about? These assets are, these amounts are held in money market funds, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of loosey-goosey here.
And why does a charity have money in a money market fund? Isn't that a
You
pretty
should
liquid?
actually. No, you should put, let's keep going. There's more grift in here. This is, we don't need to talk about fair value. 1 second. Okay, next page then, please. It's down here.
Yeah, it's
12.
sometimes it works to change the page, and sometimes it doesn't.
Oh no, we have to go further down. 13, 14, I guess. All right. Keep going down the page 14.
Oh.
Contributions. All right, the next page. Okay, yeah. Let's look at note 2. Chai has an agreement with Unitate. Okay, show us that agreement. Unitate represents governments. Chai acts as an agent, which you can't do as a tax-exempt entity. All right. As an agent, Chai does not record revenue or expenses associated with Unitate funds. In other words, Unitate gives Chai money. Chai says,
Don't
fuck
record
you. You're never going to see that again.
Thanks for the money.
We all understand why. However, summary, and we see here that in 2011, Chai got $129 million for commodities purchases, but only spent $105 million. So what happened with the $23 million? Was that Unitate lending money to Chai interest free? Did they give it to the Clinton Foundation? And then the next year they got less. They got $81 million, but they only spent $68 million. I mean, I look at that and I say, what's the percentage? What's 13,606,258 as a percentage of 678,61583? And as a guess, it's about 20%. What's 235,33002 as a percentage of 105,665,622? It's probably also 22%. So basically what they're saying is, you give us your money, Unitate, and we're just going to keep 20% for ourselves. I mean, like off the top.
Standard, right?
Shit's expensive. Yeah. So now with this summary analysis of certain text, let's go back into the statements of activities, and you'll see why.
This?
No, into that. Yeah, go into like page 3. Or I'll tell you which page as well. Not 3, not 4. Let's look, not 5. Let's look at page 6. Okay, so this shows you results for 2012 and 11. Okay, it shows that for 12 they had total revenues of $89 million and 11 $65 million. Okay, this is because you're excluding the Unitate money. And the BKD Ernie Skirmy version in 2011, where we showed 65 here, they would have shown around 200 million. Right? So it's vastly stripped down in terms of revenue, but the expenses are still pretty high. If you see here, this shows program service expenses. That's if you've done it properly, you want to see program service expenses be a very significant percentage of your revenues. And of your total, because that's
giving out the money to poor people.
Well, yeah,
doing whatever you do.
Yeah, and management in general is overhead. Fundraising is, by definition, overhead. So here we see that in 11 they lost money, 1.369743 loss. 12 they make 11,571,641. Okay, but then if we go,
how do you lose money as a charity? Why
you shouldn't.
You give less money?
Yeah, you shouldn't. You should be
like, I mean, if I'd say, this year we're going to invest in inventing a 3D camera, and I spend $100,000 doing that, and not as many people want to make 3D movies as I thought, and I lose money, that's the risk. But if I collect $100,000 to give to, I don't know, elephants, and I say, well, I wanted to give the elephants $1 million, but I only have $100,000, and I have to pay this company in Massachusetts $19, so I'll just give the elephants $981.
Right.
How do you lose money?
You shouldn't. I mean, you can have a period of volatile conditions.
1 million?
Well, and this also, I mean, the line you don't see here is, which you should see, one of the lines you should see is gain loss, foreign currency gain, gain loss, because you're operating in dollars, you're collecting your grants principally in dollars, and your expenses are in Zimbabwean dollars,
right?
Whose value goes all over the place, and Zambian and Kenyan shillings and whatever. So you should see a fair amount of volatility in that, and you don't, and that's always a sign that either they have no fucking clue what they're doing and they haven't figured that out yet, or that's part of the way they steal money. So if we go, there's a page, I think, if we go, let's to 7, further down than 7, I think. That's detail on 11. Okay, here, that's the page we want here, this one here. All right, now look at this for a second. They're saying that direct program expenditures, okay, now direct program expenditures would be on pharmaceutical products. Remember, they say they saved $1 billion
selling pharmaceuticals
on stuff that they bought. Now, they only spent 11 direct in 2011 and 12, call it, in 2012. That's $23 million, but they saved somehow $1 billion in savings by spending, call it another 10. So let's say it's $33 million.
Yeah.
That 10 was higher than 11 and 12, which is not the case. But let's just be conservative. Say they spent $33 million. By spending $33 million, they saved $1 billion in developing countries. That's credible. Not. And then we look at what are some of the things that they did here. Here's a business that's a charity only spending $11 million direct on pharmaceuticals or whatever, but it has to have a chief policy advisor and another policy advisor. Spending
31.
Well, all in, that's just program services. Look at the total line, Jason. That's program services. It's $37 million on salaries.
Oh, wow.
And then you're spending on professional consulting fees. You're spending $3 million on that.
So why are you hiring all these people if you need outside professionals?
And why would you spend $2 million on shipping $12 million worth of stuff? I mean,
that's a lot.
A lot on shipping. And then on travel, why are you spending $8.5 million? I mean, I spent 20 odd years ago, $500,000 a year on travel. That's a lot of money. But it's tough to spend that much money. I mean, I was first class everything. And, you go on a trip, it takes time. And you only have 52 weeks. A
certain amount of time,
right? So it's tough to spend $10,000 a month on travel, let alone, $800,000 or $700,000 a month on charity travel.
Right.
So you're spending, directly you're spending $12 million, but on travel you're spending $8.5 million. This is just bullshit.
Cut down the shipping and put more crap in your suitcase.
Or put Bill Clinton in the shipping container.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Chelsea and Bill and their donor friends and Bill Gates and others flying around private, going to fancy hotels around the world and talking bullshit. Now you're spending on telecom $1.6 million.
Wow.
And the one I love is, how do you spend $5.3 million on meetings?
Wow.
What were they? Is it like the Oscars? You're passing out swag bags?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd. And then, you've got all this extra space in Little Rock where space is cheap, but on top of everything else you're doing, you're spending if you could make it smaller, Jason, 1.6 million on rent and a further 2.4 million on office expenses. I mean, what do? They have
crazy.
Parchment paper. They have a special, I don't know, they have the calligraphy department of people sending formal invitations to lunch around.
Bill is stealing a lot of pens.
It's an absurd, you look at this, it's just garbage, these estimates. And we have the same sort of detail for 11 here, Jason. Dan, on the next page.
Trying to get the mouse over there.
Okay, and once again, it's 12 million. This time only 33 million on salaries, 7 million on travel, 2.9 million on meetings. Yeah, this is preposterous.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot of money.
It was certainly not a charity.
Shouldn't the salaries not exceed the money that they're giving away to poor people?
It really depends. I mean, if what you're doing is, instead of hiring a consulting firm, but they're doing that too, and instead of hiring a consulting firm, you're hiring the consultant full time at your charity. And what people will tell you who run consulting firms is that the way they bill out consulting hours is it's 4 times what they pay. You figure out the hours that somebody will work in a year, and you're trying to charge your consultants out at 4 times that amount. You can't always get paid that way, and bills don't get paid, and you've got expenses and their risks and whatever. But that's the rough ratio. You figure out what you're paying a consultant, you charge the client 4 times. And so there is a business model that says we have people who've got enough money and they understand that markup, and they will work for 85% of what they make in the private sector, and we won't have the big markup. And that's why, and we're doing consulting around the world. We're helping the government in Tanzania and other places get the cost of it. But this is not what they're doing.
Right.
Right. And, just for fun, let's go back and remember, they say that chai didn't exist in 2009. That's why we want to go into New York State, Jason, if we can. Or actually, we could stay in Massachusetts, whichever is easiest for you.
I don't mind.
Let's go to New York State for variety's sake. And let's punch in organization name, just punch in 31580204 and hit search. And let's look at the 2009 filing. Okay. And again, remember, this 2009 filing, the version that is on the Clinton Foundation site is not the same as on New York. And in 2009, if you punch it, you'll see there's only one. Yeah, go to the very end of this, be down here. There's an audit, you'll see at the very bottom. Yeah, this here. Okay, this is statement of activities. Let's rotate it. That's helpful, Jason. That's great. And let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, this is 2009, a year when chai didn't exist. And let's look and see, do you see chai in here anywhere? Like the third column from the left?
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay, now is it by chance, Jason, by far and away the biggest piece of the whole Clinton Foundation in 2009?
It looks like it. What's this thing getting $100?
That's Justra.
What is he doing with $100?
He's a member of the Justra Admirals Club. I don't know. He's got total revenues of I'm a philanthropist. I gave away 1.6 thousand.
When it says foundation, is that no? That's the biggest thing.
No. Look
49
at total revenue gains and other support down here. 45.8, 12.5.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I know you
wow.
didn't. Okay, so this is an example of chai being told that they spent 192. They had 192, but it looks to me like the Clinton Foundation, or somebody got 15 million, which they then gave to chai somehow. Looks like climate and foundation gave 14, took in, this is negatives, right? So these negatives offset that positive.
Oh, look.
And CG, so the ones that are
these add up
negative,
to this?
well, and then one over there, 1, 4, 8, 9. They should, I haven't checked it, but it looks to me as if foundation, climate, and CGSGI transferred 14,959 to chai and 1,304,649 to CHDI. But I was more interested here in looking at the spending. And you remember how much they spent on consulting?
$2 million or something?
Right. What did they spend in consulting, Jason, in 2009?
Where is it?
Chai.
Program consulting, 300,000, 34,000.
No.
Professional.
That's not
3 million.
No, that's climate. Look at.
Oh, sorry, 22 million.
I mean, it's tough to spend $22 million on consultants. I mean, that's
Unless
really,
they're consulting you with regard to wasting your money.
And it depends. The question is, okay, so who are these consultants? Does anyone connected with chai happen to run a consulting firm, Ira Magaziner?
Oh.
He does. So there should be real details about where that 22 million happened. This is obviously the biggest piece by far of the Clinton Foundation. In fact, it generates positive net assets, increase in net assets of 14.6, whereas the whole group together only has 13.8, meaning that chai generated more increase in net assets than everything else combined. Right, and made up for a loss of that everyone else had.
It's that good, Joe.
It's that important, but it didn't exist according in the 1023 for chai. That didn't exist. In 2009, let's see, who was president?
Oh,
B.
Obama.
Ron. Who was Secretary of State?
Hillary.
Who claimed that she did all kinds of shit in South Africa with chai in 2009 in her book?
I guess probably Hillary.
Hillary Clinton.
Didn't read the book.
So it's getting cold. Probably get a couple for cheaper than one of those Duraflame logs.
Right, yeah.
Can't burn them here in New York.
They're chemically infused.
So you look at this, and I mean this is, and notice this doesn't say consolidated statement of activities. It says combining statement of activities for what entity, Jason?
William J. Clinton.
Which didn't exist in 2009 or 10 because it had no bylaws. Right, and without bylaws, you're not a compliant Arkansas corporation.
People are confused by that. They, lawyers and stuff,
no good lawyer should be confused.
Oh, well, that's the caveat there.
Right. Yeah. Right. So
Stephen Biss is confused by that stuff.
So to get a sense of whether this is just, a shambalicious fraud or a hysterical fraud or whatever it might be, let's go back into the Massachusetts index and let's pull the index, though, if we can get that. No, that's New York. That's Amazon. It's to the left. To the right, yeah. Okay, now let's go into 2015 or 16 and look at the PC annual report for 16. No, that's not it.
Oh.
The 640, yeah. Okay, now let's see if by chance in 2016, now what happened in 2016? Was anybody running for president?
Trump? Oh, well, Hillary.
Yeah. Now, let's see if
What happened?
I don't know. Somebody should write a book about that.
Yeah.
What, do the sequel, What the Fuck Happened? What in the fuck happened? But anyway, this is a report.
You call it What Would Have Happened, and I'd like to
What
read
should
to
have
you.
happened. Yeah. So this is something that was received February 7th, 2018.
No,
and
but then it's
February 8th.
overstamped 8th.
Yeah, I know.
What's that about?
I don't know. Received a bunch of times. But you go to the left here, and let's scroll down a page a bit, and I think they list out the various offices that they have. Yeah, there, right, that page. Okay, so here's, to give you a sense, this is by 2016, they've got an office in Cambodia, Cameroon, not in the DRC. No, it's just whatever phone number, CD Catherine Kalaris, in Ethiopia, in Haiti, in India, in Indonesia, Jamaica, of all places, they have an office, Kenya, Laos, they
Not a lot of info there.
care of somebody.
G
The Global Fund, that's the Global Fund. Across from the main building of the Ministry of Health. That's
Why is this the Global Fund?
It's just care of the Global Fund.
But it's interesting that they're in Laos and
Right.
there was virtually no...
Well, no, I mean, this is just fiction. Right? I would guess that in Mozambique, the language there is Portuguese.
Is it?
Yeah, and as a guess, they never have filed paperwork properly in Mozambique, a country that is filled with landmines, got many problems.
Actual landmines?
Actually unexploded landmines, yeah. Let's go to page 10 and see if there are any other offices.
Why are there landmines in
Because
Mozambique?
there was civil war for like 10, 15 years. So here you have, in Myanmar, you've got an office. In Nigeria, you have only one office. Papua New Guinea, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, only for DHL. Whatever that means. South Africa, Swaziland.
DHL, the shipping company?
I guess. United States, Uganda, only for DHL. Ukraine, Vietnam, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Okay, this is in
What does
16.
that mean, only for DHL?
I don't know. Let's keep it going down the page. I think they have a list of bank accounts further down. Yeah. Then this says, that's where they registered. Now, they claim they registered. Let's look at some of these important dates. How could you have registered in Florida on the 13th of January if in one version you only filled out bylaws by February 3rd, 2010? How did you register in Florida on January 13th? And where is the evidence of that?
Definitely blame it on Ron DeSantis'
Yeah,
wife.
it's all Trump. Mar-a-Lago. How did you do it in Massachusetts on the 6th if you only signed bylaws on the 3rd of February? You weren't an organization on the 6th. And how, for that matter, did you transfer Old Chai into New Chai on January 1st, 2010 if you had no bylaws? How did you do this in New York on the 1st? How did you do it in Pennsylvania in 2009? Right?
It's really interesting.
Right. So then let's go back into the index and let's look at the same report for 19 and see if they have how many offices they have in 19. And remember, as you're trying to find it, it's the second line, yeah. As you're trying to find it, Jason, you remember that one of my warning signs for a charity that likely, or a business that likely is engaged in fraud, is when they have multiple offices in the same place, the same city. That's a very bad sign. You don't need, for something as small as this or the Clinton Foundation, you don't need to have a 77 Water Street address.
Right.
And a
I
bank
mean, unless
account
you're like
on
a retail thing where you're trying to access every neighborhood and have dozens of employees.
Yeah,
all
but if
over
you're
the
a
place.
charity, if
don't
you're
need
Starbucks, I get it. But
Right.
not if you're, but McDonald's or whatever.
Right.
So we go down the page. Let's find the same list of offices here, and see if they've changed at all. Have they matured? Okay, that's it. That's okay. Botswana. So suddenly in Cambodia, you got 2 offices one in Siem Reap City, and one in Phnom Penh. Why do you need that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
How big is Cambodia?
And here in Addis Ababa, you've got 2 offices, different house numbers in Addis Ababa. Why do you need that? In India, you got different cities. Why you're operating in Bhopal? I mean, you obviously want to punish some employee or whatever.
I don't know.
Let's go to we can't go to Japan. And we'll go down the list here. This is okay. Kenya, I get that. Vientiane, or however you pronounce that. Vientiane, I get that. Now, plot number 132730024 at Stadium Arena doesn't sound like
That's weird.
a penthouse to me. But and in Liberia, to live in Congo Town, Monrovia.
Every boat is registered in Monrovia for some reason. There's gotta be
because they don't require insurance.
I was going to say, got to be something illegal going on there.
Now, my personal favorite is Nigeria because, I mean, there's no allegations in Nigeria of corruption and,
Wow, there's a
potential.
lot of.
Why do you have all these offices?
Well, there's a lot of attractive women in Nigeria, and Bill might be like, "Well, we need a lot of offices."
But why would you have several? If we open that up a little bit, Abuja, we've got 2 offices in Abuja. I don't understand this.
It's a lot of offices.
And so the standard.
7.
Well, I think there's some on the next page too.
Wow, 8.
You got an office in Panama. First of all, Panama is not a developing country.
They have a canal and a lot of hotels.
It's more like a rising type Singapore. It's an asset collection place, and it's definitely not impoverished the way some of these other countries are. Sierra Leone is a country that has a very bad history with blood diamonds and
that's where the movie happened, isn't it?
Yeah, an acquaintance of mine a Rhodes Scholar acquaintance of mine was murdered in Sierra Leone.
Oh,
Kurt Schork, he was in Clinton delivered his eulogy. He was in his Rhodes class.
wow! Why murdered?
He was an idealist. He was a boyfriend of one of Clarissa's friends at Morgan Stanley, and we had him up to the house in 1988, and he had some job in a real estate firm, a local real estate firm, and he was an idealist, starry-eyed idealist, and he heard about the war over there, and he thought it was horrible, and he went over to try to help, and a little kid came up to him and shot him in the head. A little kid, underage, like 12-year-old kid or something.
Just for no reason at all?
No reason. You're white, you're dead.
Wow.
And sad, because he probably could have been a seriously helpful and important person. He would have done.
But he's a Rhodes Scholar.
No, but he was he was a centered guy. I mean, he's just a little bit naive, but and very much still dead. And why do you have 2 offices in Pretoria, the capital?
I don't have any.
You sure?
Not that I'm aware of.
That you want to admit?
South
and why
Africa?
here? Let's look here. And why do you have an office in Brooklyn, New York?
They spoke about that office in Brooklyn.
It's not registered in New York. Prospect Street?
Prospect Street.
And why do you have this office in Pennsylvania? It's not registered.
This is the Ira Magaziner house, isn't it?
That's the second.
No, it's not. That's a suite.
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Yeah, and base principles, real business people would look at something like this and they'd say, all right, before we set up a new charity and ask for more money to be sent to Africa, are there any other entities around the world that already distribute drugs and already have office complexes that we could use first? And the answer is that after Unitaid did an investigation into the Clinton Foundation and didn't go all the way home, we talked about this.
I thought Unitaid was in on the scam with the Clinton
probably
Foundation.
was. They decided to shift around the time of this new audit, May 23rd, 2013. By then they had shifted a lot of the projects away from the Clinton Foundation to other operations that had been operating, doing this kind of stuff, going as far back as the 70s. There's a Dutch entity, I think, that specializes in doing this. So,
this is 81 Prospect Street, Charles.
Yeah.
Just looks like a pretty standard Brooklyn office.
Yeah, but you
building.
don't need this office. I mean, why? There's a Clinton Foundation office in Manhattan. You know, there's one in Harlem. They use Chappaqua. Why do you need this thing in Brooklyn? And you know,
This is a weird place to have it, isn't it?
it's just. I don't know. As somebody who's set up offices around the world for different businesses, I mean, what you really want to do is have as few offices as possible. Each office
Costs money.
and it takes your time and more people who can irritate you and prima donnas and thieves
Problems
and whatever
with the
and tax
landlords.
people. Yeah. So I told you I would close focusing in on May 23rd, 2013.
Yes.
If we go and punch into Google unease at the Clinton Foundation over finances and ambition, you should get right to the, yeah. August 13th, 2013, a story by Nicholas Confessor and Amy Chozick. Actually, both of these people are gifted writers and morons when it comes to trying to understand charities. Because on August 13th, 2013, what people should have been, I mean, we start here, right here in this sentence. Soon after the 10th anniversary of the foundation bearing his name, Bill Clinton met with a small group of aides and 2 lawyers from Simpson Thacher and Bartlett. Wrong. Okay, that was in 2011. The Clinton Foundation was set up, in theory, October 23rd, 1997. So that wasn't the 10th anniversary. And the pretext for bringing Simpson Thacher in was, you know, it's a misdirection attempt. And on August 13th, 2013, why people should have been really nervous about the Clinton Foundation is it had no bylaws, it had no articles of incorporation. They were shortly, the major league names were getting nervous. They needed to expand the board, and they were about to really fuck the thing up by putting Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton on an executive committee of this Clinton Foundation, renaming it, and giving the 3 family members authority to run the Clinton Foundation between board meetings, not subject to review by anybody at any time. This is strictly forbidden.
When is this thing saying that Clinton met with Simpson Thacher? Because I know somebody who used to work there.
At Simpson Thacher? Or at the Clinton Foundation?
At Simpson Thacher. She's a judge.
Oh, well, it would have been, we know exactly we're going to go show. It was October 27th, 2011.
Well, she wasn't there in 2011.
You know somebody else who used to work at Simpson Thacher?
Who? Well, you.
Yeah, a long time ago.
But that was a long time ago. The person
That's where
I knew.
began my distinguished career.
The person I knew was there from 2001 until 2003 before she became the general counsel of the FBI.
NI.
Yeah.
FBI, Federal Bureau of Non-Investigation. So August 13th, 2013, there's a firestorm, and Nick Confessor and Amy Chozick write this story. Bill's pissed. He writes a counter.
But on Medium.
On Medium. But before we go there, I want to go slightly back into time, and I'd like you to, if you would, to Google dirty medicine.
Right. I forget the person's name.
Catherine Eban, E-B-A-N. It's not spelled that way.
It isn't?
No.
It's a good thing I have Google on my side as far as this goes. I knew it would figure it out.
May 15th, 2013. 8 days before Chai's new auditors produced garbage. And Catherine is a Rhodes Scholar. She worked with our Magaziner. She is in the Clinton orbit. Larry Doyle has met with or spoken with her, but she in this book and in Bottle of Lies,
Yeah, right.
she doesn't go quite far enough to understand what was really going on. And what was really going on is that George Bush's idiotic PEPFAR and the Clinton and others' idiotic Global Fund and Clinton Foundation raised way too much money that in theory was supposed to go to good uses, but in practice disappeared and may have funded personal lifestyles and campaigns and gotten in a position where a lot of bad shit happened across Africa in countries with dark-skinned people. Adulterated drugs were disseminated in the name of charity, killing and maiming a lot of people, all as the virtue signalers took credit for their supposed good works and angled for their Nobel Prizes, which thankfully Bill Clinton has not yet gotten.
Is he going to get one, you think?
I hope not.
It's
He ought to get the toxic bag of shit prize. I mean,
it's perfect for criminals like him. They seem to be getting it all the time.
so this is May 15th, 2013. We have, on the one hand, Rod Rosenstein signs the agreement, one of the signatories of the agreement. He, in his capacity as U.S. Attorney in Maryland, he had been on the team that tried to bring Ranbaxy to heel, and I think they didn't successfully bring them completely to heel. They raised $500 million in, I think, fines and other things. But Ranbaxy was a tens of billions of dollars of problem. And the people running Ranbaxy were fundamentally dishonest, as we see afterwards. Their trail of crimes continued after this mess. But this is May 15th. If we punch into Google Lois Lerner and May 2013, what do we find?
I don't know.
Here.
This?
Yeah. Background. Here. Again, this is somebody held in contempt of Congress. So,
But then what happened as a result of that?
all right, in early May 2013, on May 10th, okay, in advance of the public release of its audit findings, Lois Lerner answers a planted question by stating that the IRS was apologetic for what she termed absolutely inappropriate actions. This is on the 10th, 5 days.
Question. Who planted the question?
Well, because what they're trying to do, on the one hand, they wanted you not to focus carefully enough on Ranbaxy on the 15th, but on the 10th, they wanted all the conservatives foaming at the mouth that the Obama administration, the IRS during the Obama administration was unfairly targeting Tea Party conservatives. And one of the firebrand mouthpieces for the Tea Party conservatives was who?
I don't know.
Cleta Mitchell.
Oh, right.
So let's put her name in here with Lerner. See how many different hits we get.
Lois Lerner?
And Lerner, yeah. 37,000 hits. Okay. But Cleta Mitchell, she's all over the place. Woe is me, woe is me. And as we've explained, she was brought in to she had been on the board of the American Conservative Union. She's been on the board of many, many prominent conservative charities. And many of those charities have serious problems, as we've documented in past broadcasts. So to me, this is a lot like this Nixon book that we started talking about very, very early on. By 2013, specifically by May 2013, the project to elect Hillary Clinton began to really take shape. It became not just fiction, it became something they really wanted to get done. They had learned from the 2008 experience that
she sucks.
The ordinary shit that's not going to work. We're going to have to rig this bitch. I mean, the election, that is. And so they needed money. They needed lots of money.
Yeah.
And they needed skeletons that might have existed regarding fraudulent operation of charities and the Clinton Foundation. We needed that to be old news by 2016.
They say that even.
Yeah, and so that's why I think they were happy to plant the question and say, yeah, we targeted conservatives, because I think the reason they wanted to have that out there is so that you would know that if you oppose Hillary Clinton,
you get targeted.
You're definitely going to get targeted. But you ain't seen targeting. When Hillary gets elected, we're going to put the T in targeting, right? We have a list of people we're going to target. So that was, I think, by design. I think the release of the Ranbaxy thing was also by design. And I think there are emails flying around the Clinton Foundation people, like Uma Abedin and Doug Bann and all these other people, are probably, this is when Teneo is coming together. This is when people are realizing we've got disastrous problems with Chai and Clinton climate and other things. Everything that we've touched in this foundation is a piece of shit. And what do we do? Woe is me. There are going to be a lot of those type of emails. So the solution to that
Delete
you
them.
have an internal investigation where you get the inspector general to retrieve all that crap, then you delete it.
Oh.
Then you say it's old news.
Bleach bit it.
Yeah. Going back to our to date first, or not our only, our first animation.
Oh, right.
Which I think certainly is a clear sign. I wonder, out of curiosity, Jason, Mrs. Bill, how many hits does that have now?
You know, the original one was removed.
Removed? Why?
Well, because, it was on the Jason Goodman channel, and that's gone. But if people...
It's got to be on Google.
Well...
What happens if you punch it into Google? It used to be there.
But it got deleted from that channel. I think I put it back. It's a good time to remind people to subscribe to the Sunday with Charles channel. This is a YouTube channel that I've created for all of our Sunday with Charles episodes. We've got the live simulcast happening right now, thanks to the 114 people watching us over there. I think I've put it on here. Let's take a look real quick. If we just search. Oh.
But what if you just punch it into Google? Oh, what do you know? What do you know?
It's been deleted.
Wow.
I have it. I'll repost it tonight. What is this here?
That's when we had Michael Smith on.
But that doesn't look like our video of Michael, does it?
I don't know.
This is Jeff Brooks. Oh, it's a video that Michael has put on his webpage. There we go. I see. It's just a weird Google. I'm getting too distracted here, Charles. I think it's time for us to wrap it up. It's been a good Sunday session. People wanted to see us out walking, but it's freezing cold and raining.
Well, yeah, this is just not a particularly sensible time to be out and about. I mean, particularly during a time period where it'll get dark at the end. I mean, we have our idiotic mayor announcing that his brother is going to be the deputy police commissioner.
Ridiculous.
And our idiotic...
Doesn't he work at Starbucks or some parking garage, and now he's making the police commissioner?
Why not?
But well, what are the police going to say about that? Isn't it usually like the deputy commissioner, or don't you have to work your whole life as a cop?
He's going to be the deputy commissioner, this guy.
I mean, who they make into isn't there an executive deputy position?
That's all. It's racist. That's all. The whole merit stuff. That's all racist.
Just get some cop, racist, to be the
food. Racist, darkness. And why don't we work at night and sleep during the day? It's all racist.
Yeah, I have some serious concerns about Eric Adams. He
and the DA.
Terrible.
We're going to put this new Harvard Law School dude on the Harvard Law Review, Harvard Law Review, who decides as district attorney that he's not going to prosecute violent crime anymore,
and announces it to
because
criminals.
It's not like the borders are porous, and crooks around the world will say, you know what? Rather than operate my cartel in Cali, in Colombia, maybe I should do it in Manhattan.
Right.
They're not going to prosecute violent crime, so what the hell?
Well, the actual police commissioner, who I think is the first female police commissioner, issued a letter to the cops, and basically the cops have kind of bounced back saying, you can't do that, DA, because it basically puts every cop, every citizen in New York City in danger.
Well, and again, this is why I think it's a good move, particularly in cold season, which
stay inside.
Well, not for you and I to be, going around Manhattan, which is, a dangerous place at a bad time of year.
Yeah.
We'll wait till when the sun shines.
DW asks, why does NYC keep electing criminals? It's an excellent question that I don't have an answer for.
Or a better question is, what the hell are we still doing here? You saw the latest change. This affects you, actually. They're going to change, there's a proposal in New York State law to change the eviction process to make it basically impossible to evict somebody. It says you can evict them for cause. Now the new law is going to say something like good cause.
Oh, so they can challenge any cause
forever.
And say it's not
not
good.
Pay rent and just stay in your place forever. And that will, if you needed yet another thing to tank the economy.
Oh, I have a great idea. Because those noisy kids just moved out. I should sell this apartment and rent the one across the hall and just stop paying rent.
That's you're thinking. I like the way you're
It'd be
thinking.
easy to move.
Yeah.
And then I don't have any screaming kids there.
And you could say, it's like you could just at once a month you send
I
it
got
a
a better
letter.
idea.
You send it a letter, pay with shitcoin.
I got a better idea. I'll keep this apartment. I'll rent that apartment. I'll sublet one of the rooms in there, pay for this one with that money, and then just stop paying rent. This is a wonderful business.
You should
plan,
create a
Charles.
foundation.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Charles, thanks for another great presentation. We didn't get a chance to speak about Meghan Markle. It's
Or Julian Assange.
or Julian Assange. It's Catherine. I guess they don't have last names once they become British royalty, but it's her birthday, I think, today or yesterday. I get all kinds of British news now. from
Catherine,
Twitter.
you mean William's wife? Is my birth is the 9th?
Is today your birthday? No.
2 days.
Oh, right. Oh, happy birthday, Charles.
And I'm well past the age of celebrating them. It's like, no, not another one. No.
I don't know too many dates of birthdays, but somebody in the royal family is having a birthday, and everybody's annoyed with Meghan Markle. She won £1 from suing the Daily something.
How's she going to invest that?
She's giving it to charity, she said, and then they said that there's some other money that she's going to get. I don't know what's going on there. But, Charles, we got a big week ahead of us here of Joe Biden continuing to destroy the country. And
Got the National Football Championship on Monday.
That means nothing to me.
It'll be a good game, actually.
People will enjoy it. Someone will get on their knee and create controversy. Somebody else will probably beat up their wife. I see a lot of videos of that. It's not funny. You shouldn't beat up your wives, but these guys in the NFL seem to love to do it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching and remind people that they can support the show on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. There's a lot of great shows on there. So become a sponsor. Watch on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is an extra bonus lengthy show, so have a good Sunday night. I'll see everybody soon. Thanks.